Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is all about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationship advice channel. Alright, so we're going to get back to it. Now, we're getting in recap. And we're just going to recap on day 16. Now, I'm going to try to keep this like under an hour or so. And we're just going to go through certain clips. Now, on day 16, what did I say? I hope I said it right. Yeah, we're going through day 16, what I was trying to say. So day 16, this is basically time like she basically confesses. All right, so we're going to focus more on what she was talking about. Okay, we kind of saw everything with last time about what, what the doctors think and everything. And basically the doctors feel that she doesn't have DID. She doesn't have it. No, she has borderline personality disorder and she has narcissism. That's it. All right, so we're going to get into it now. So I'm going to start off with this. And I'm also, maybe times I'll pause a bit, share my thoughts and opinions. But what you do is, you make sure you hit the like button, share the video on your social media, and also share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And have you been following the trial? What do you think of the trial? Do you think that she should be not guilty because she was insane? Or you think that she was completely guilty and she knew exactly what she was doing? I don't know. Share your thoughts. Let me know. And also, if you need to get a hold of me for any coaching, or you have a viewer's request, or you just need to speak to me about something, you can feel free to look in the description and you will find my email and we will go from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. And I think we have maybe 1 or 2 more weeks of this trial. I think. Anybody who knows watch a replay, let me know. Put in the comment section, let me know. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. And I first want to say is, rest in peace, Angel. Gannon, you did not deserve this. Not at all. You should have been protected. I see so many red flags, and I see so many things that could have prevented this from happening. Rest in peace. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it.
Torres.
Good morning.
We're going to show a longer clip here of your forensic interview with Ms. Stauch here shortly. But before we do that, I want to ask a couple questions about the forensic interview itself. And you as a forensic interviewer, a forensic psychologist, what are you trying to accomplish, especially when you ask an individual about the reason why they're there, the crime or the event?
Oops, I forgot to say something. All right, right here at this point, because when we do these recaps, we do it on a faster speed because we'll be here like forever. All right, so I'm going to put the speed as the doctor talks on 1.5. Okay, so if it's too fast on your end, the people that's here and the replay watchers, you can slow it down on your end, but it's going to be on 1.5. But when Letecia, Satan's daughter, talks, I'm going to put it down to 1.25. All right, let's get it.
That happened that put them in that situation.
At this part of the evaluation, what we're trying to do, or what we're trying to get at, is the defendant's story, their perception of everything that had happened to them, what they were thinking, what they were feeling, what actions they took. This is important.
Hi, Francine. She came in here hard. She just started hitting the super chat. Thank you for the blessing to the channel. Aloha, and from Hawaii. Woo! Woo! Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, and thank you for being supportive to this channel and watching it, because this is crazy, isn't it, Francine? And I appreciate your comments, what you put down in the comment section before. Great points. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. Like I said, the speed is on 1.5. If you need to slow it down your end, you can slow it down your end. But when Letecia starts talking, I'm going to put it down to 1.25, not as fast, because she already talks like, Speedy Gonzalez. All right, let's get it.
Into an evaluation of insanity, because as an evaluator, we are trying to get at what symptoms of mental illness, if any, might be impacting those emotions, those behaviors, intentions, motivations, and the perception of reality at the time of the actual offense. So it's important for us to get from the defendant's own mouth their story.
And so is part of that role where you may ask them questions, much like a lawyer might do in a cross-examination? Wait a minute, you said this on such and such day. Now you're saying this. What do you mean by that? Is that something you would do in a forensic interview?
That can come up, and it's going to depend upon what the inconsistencies might be. There can be inconsistencies that are maybe less relevant to the particular issue of sanity, in which case we might not ask questions about that. But if there are inconsistencies that are important to our understanding of what they're trying to communicate to us, then we will ask about it.
And in Colorado, would it be common practice to have an attorney present during this forensic examination and the attorney cross-examine the subject on inconsistencies and things like that?
That is not common practice.
And why is that?
I believe I may have mentioned it the other day, and we don't allow attorneys to be in the evaluation room, particularly because we have concerns that they might try to interfere or try to influence the defendant one way or the other. This would go for defense or prosecution. Since we're there as neutral evaluators for the court, we want to have our own opportunity to ask the defendant questions.
And during the course of a defendant, and we'll just talk about Ms. Stauch for now, is Ms. Stauch telling you the circumstances surrounding the event and then the actual event according to her itself? Are you or Dr. Gray suggesting potential mental illnesses that may have occurred during that event?
No.
Why?
Again, we're not trying to feed the defendant or Ms. Stauch any particular information that she could then give back to us as it pertains to issues of mental illnesses, diagnoses, symptoms that might be present. We want to get her version as purely as she's able to give it to us.
And would that be standard practice for forensic psychologists, forensic psychiatrists, right, in Colorado, not to do that, not to suggest diagnoses to the subject as you're interviewing?
Correct.
And so with that, Dr. Torres, we're going to play this video clip. It's about 1 hour and 14 minutes long. You're more than welcome to sit back here during if you like. But Your Honor, at this time, we would be publishing People's Exhibit 725 in its entirety. Yeah, we're going to play it from over here.
Hi, I'm Mark Lichtenfeld, Chief.
All right, so this may be the most difficult part of the day. To talk to us about what happened on the day of the event. Maybe things leading up to it.
Where do you want me to start out?
Well, where do you think it begins?
Well, I already told you guys before that I was going to leave, right? And I was just waiting to get everything in order. I need to get back somewhere else where I could be, mentally okay and not have to deal with like these people that wanted to find out about this car accident. So I had to escape from them. So I started planning to get a place to stay. I was going to work as a flight attendant, get all that information like I told you guys before they ended back. Then stopped working at my job. I thought I was going to stay again. I was the job for it. I wasn't because I was in Colorado. So no matter where I went in Colorado, mob, the mafia.
I will say the audio with this recording of her, you know, this is when she's being evaluated. It's very horrible. So try to get the best that you can out of it. Try to get the best. This whole trial thing is just annoying because the cameras, the sounds is just horrible. But oh well. We have to do this for Gannon. Rest in peace, Angel. He must get justice. Resume.
Got people looking into it, investigator to find out where he's from, but I had to get away from him. Yeah. So I got a new job and all that, was getting ready to go work as a flight attendant. It came back in January, you know, I think it was around like the 9th or 10th, I think it was, when I picked him back up from the airport. That was that, like, you know, transition period, getting everybody back, you know, in the mode, in the routine and all that. Then we went on this cruise. We went on the cruise on January 16th. Me and Albert and the kids stayed at home by themselves with Harvey and the babysitter. And it was weird because, well, I get to the port for Lauderdale, but they had lost my bag. So I was like freaking out, thinking that one of these people had took my bag, because I changed my whole route of where I was going. So instead of going on that one cruise, we hopped on another cruise because I didn't know if like they had got my itinerary for where I was going. And the kids were at home, you know what I mean? So I changed my whole itinerary to go to Palm Beach because I really went to Fort Lauderdale. And I kept telling Albert, I was like, I thought I saw that guy, like, you know, I know they're following us. And he was just like, no one's going to go through that stream over a car. Anyway, so we ended up going on the cruise. I changed the whole route and everything. And we come back from the cruise. Well, the moment I get back from the cruise, Gannon approaches me and he says, he was like, your friends came by in that black car looking for you. So I started freaking out because I know it's the same black car. They came to Red Shell in and search and find me. So I told him, I said, look, can you explain what the car looked like? I wanted to see if Edgar has a black car too. So I was like, well, it could be Edgar's car, you know. So he explained the car, and it definitely wasn't Edgar's car because Edgar has a Beamer. I just started getting my paranoia was getting really bad. So I wouldn't go to the mailbox. I wouldn't go wherever. I was going to work, and I was putting, like I said, the visors up in my car because I thought that they could see me. I'd go take breaks at work and freaking out because I just started this job at District 20, and I didn't want them to think, you know, like I was just losing my mind or something. So I'd go to my car and try to like, figure out what to do. So fast forward, those were like 2 or 3 days. It was Lena's birthday, January 22nd. So, you know, we're celebrating her birthday. Well, I rode all the way to get Albert's mom because I was scared to stay at home by myself. Like, I didn't know if they were going to clear our house or not. Prior to that,
Love you, Francie. Send you a megabyte. I could use it. Oh, I can't wait for next Friday. Oh, yes, I'm going out. Have me a good time. Okay. Thank you so much, beautiful. Thank you, and blessings. Thank you. Resume.
I got in trouble with the Colorado Sheriff's Office because I made a call to 911 and told them I thought somebody was in the backyard. Well, they send people out and they find out that there was nobody in the back. They say there's nobody. I don't believe it. They look at my alarm status and they're like, you could get in trouble for making false reports to the police, right? This was right in that time frame. And so I rode to the airport to get Albert's mom on Lena's birthday, and I basically wouldn't like leave out of people's sight, you know what I mean? Like people that could be around that knew could help protect me or whatever. Fast forward on a couple of days, you know, I was trying to go to work. This would be all over the place, you know. And so January 26th, that was the day that Kobe Bryant had died in a helicopter crash. And we were going to go to church that day. Well, there was this guy who was saying he was Michael the Archangel now. That's why we didn't go to church on January 26th. It was a Sunday. Now, first of all, I told y'all where my faith is in Jesus. We had a business card that said Michael the Archangel. So I'm like thinking, I even asked my, you know, attorneys this, and they got some back and forth, like, why do you think this man was doing this? He was trying to keep us from going to the church, you know? Turn the car around, and so we're just going to go on a hike because, you know, But if Kobe Bryant died, I love Kobe Bryant, you know, we're just going back instead. So we're on the hike on January 26th. And I'm like talking to the kids about everything, and the owner was warning, he knew I was packing boxes. Everything, I knew about the flight attendant. Fine, go with me. And she, you have to wait till Wednesday. I said, because I'm going to talk to your mom to make sure the flight attendant will through whatever. Well, when we were on this hike, as we're talking about this, you know, like I think that happened earlier with the whole Michael the Archangel. That's when something started telling me that we don't have to be a white family to join, because if they be a black family, it would never make TV. Which you guys know that would be definitely true, because there's a lot of racism still in the country, you know. So throughout the day, like this kept happening with the whole Michael the Archangel guy, you know. And I'm like, why is this? I didn't know if the people were getting him to come as host as Michael the Archangel and get him to come there, if it had anything to do with the side of the accident that was related to the accident or what. So finally, I told the kids, I said, look, let's just go on home. You know what I mean? Like the day's been too much of a hard day. Let's just go. Gannon was complaining with his stomach because he had like food all over. He had like a Georgia his back on the problem. Well, we go, get ready to go home. Realize I hadn't got him dinner yet. So I leave him and back home, he takes him out or whatever. Me and Lena go get food, get have meals, do whatever. Probably was at work. So we come back, feed him, do everything, you know, like a normal thing. My mind is still sitting there about this whole, I feel like it was God trying to tell me something, you know, this whole arch. You know, so my mind was still on that. So I was like, let's call it early night, guys. Let's just, you know, as it happened today with the whole helicopter, it was just like not a good day that normally we have on hikes. So then we leave. I'm like, go get happy, let's come back. Call it a night. And I'm in the bed, just like relaxing or whatever. And I hear the alarm on fire, 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 fire. So I just remember immediately freaking out. The next 30 minutes of that, 30 minutes-ish, was a glare. You know, like a glare. So like, where I went, like I went into protection. And I got the dogs, Lena, and took her outside because they were the first people I saw upstairs, you know what I mean? So I was thinking get the safe people out first, you know? But I come back and get ready to run down the stairs to go back to get G, and I had socks on. So I slipped down the whole stairway or whatever. That's how my blood gets on the baseboard. I bumped my head against the baseboard because I was running so fast down the stairs to get down to where I see smoke at this point. As soon as I see the smoke, I go into panic mode. Like, I was like having flashbacks of, you know, like all the fires I've experienced. I went back upstairs, went back out the front door again, and then realized Gannon's downstairs. Go back downstairs. And then I went back down the stairs again, and Gannon's on the sofa, and the fire is around the sofa. So I reach over to grab him, and when I do, he was like wrapped in the covers. So I grabbed the covers, I pulled the covers, and when we both were on the fire, the last part of that was just being down on the fire. I didn't remember anything again until we were in the truck, but all of us were safe in the truck. So like, I don't remember running out at that point in time. I know that I did because the alarm doorbell camera showed that we run out the house. But I don't know if I just sit there, if it was just so traumatic. I don't know what happened from the time we went down in the fire to going out to the car, except my doorbell, you know, the camera system. So they have camera footage. Go out, we get in the car, and I just pull off. Because again, you know me, I'm a runner. That was it, to just run away. He's hysterical, Lane's hysterical. I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Is the house burnt down? Do we have a house to live in? You have to remember, for me, a fire is this size, and it's huge to me. So I go back to this house because there's fire. But the gas tank was on empty, but someone kept telling me, just keep driving. Like, your car's just going to go on empty anyway. Just keep going. Don't worry. Your car's just going to keep going. Don't worry. Somehow, in between that time, I end back up to the house. Again, that was a gap that I don't remember. But I text Harley according to the messages and says, it's okay, there's a fire, everybody's okay. And I send her a picture of the fire. Harley's freaking out, like, okay, I'm on the way home. Is Gannon okay? I said, and I wrote her back on the message, and I said, he has some burns from the fire, but everybody's okay. So Harley comes in, the house is like, smelling like smoke or whatever. We're opening windows or whatever. Harley basically took charge on that part. She started just opening windows. I'm like, Mom, it's okay, calm down. So I was all hysterical all over the place. And they all wanted to, like, everybody just be together, you know, because to me, all I could keep thinking about was if I couldn't have got to Gannon, he'd have, like, burned up on the fire, you know what I mean? So I was just all over the place. Well, we all just decided to lay on the sofa together. That was on January 26th. So we're all just laying on the sofa together, just trying to, like, figure out the plans. Like I said, it's okay. I said, I'll have one of my friends. He goes by the name Guam. I'm not going to give his real name. I was like, I'll have one of my friends Guam get somebody to come over and fix it. I would get a big deal or whatever. And then that's where this whole, like, video goes on. And then about the fires, why did he said it, you know, whatever. I remember I told you earlier, I record everything. I wanted to have that too, you know. I didn't know how it started. I was upstairs when it started. And so he's telling me that he set the fire, but he didn't mean to set it. We're like, all of that. So we're just trying to come up with a plan to fix it. Now, you look at the video, people took it out of context. When I say we can sell the sofa, I don't mean you can look at our house. We have a plan. You got to think of the country slang talk, meaning we can get a new sofa. You know, so that got taken out of complete context of what we were saying, which I think my mental state, I was all hysterical. Well, we all were just on the sofa. I was like, God's going to get someone to come fix it or whatever. That's totally fine. They brought the number to the garage. I said, hey, I'm going to go to work tomorrow, kids will be on the school. If you can get someone to fix it, just replace the carpet, whatever, I'll pay you whatever. So, like, I have memory, you know, out and in up until then, right? But where the gaps came in was what happened during that time frame. So I hear the garage open at some point during the night. I don't know if I was having a nightmare, or I don't know if the garage was really opening. I don't really know because I was so heightened about this fire. So I kept going through the house thinking that there was someone in the house. And I kept running up down the freaking garage, kept coming open. I'd open the door to the garage, nothing. I didn't see the garage being moved or anything. Again, I don't know. I remember coming back in.
Crystal, this is insane what you did. And dropped off at the biological mom's house? Oh, I must find that story. Oh, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you have people out here walking around that's serving the devil. It could be a next door neighbor. It could be your children's teacher. The person that you're laying in the bed with. Your children. Your parents. The pastor at the church. It could be whoever. You have to be careful. That is sad. I'm going to have to look up that story. If you give me just a little bit of information about that, Crystal, so I can know where to Google it and search it. Wow. Or if you can, email me something. You know, you can email me, email me something and I can go from there. Oh my gosh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's resume. And now, Gigi, I see you up in here. I see you, girl. All right, resume.
In the house, and I was just like, I woke up again. I guess that's when I text my boss. I don't remember this part. The message went to my boss that said that my stepdad had died. I remember my stepdad died when I was 19. But I didn't snap back out of it until later on. That really wasn't the same day that my stepdad had died, right? But then I think I hear somebody in the garage again. Okay, well then I go out to the garage and I tell Harley, I said, Harley, I'm going to shut the door to the garage and lock it, because if you shut the door from the inside and you come into the garage, like, nobody could get to the inside. And I was like that paranoid, So I don't remember, but the doorbell cam, I'm like walking out, I guess looking in the yard, just trying to figure out what's going on. But then I remember being in the garage naked. And so I don't know who was in my garage. So when I talk to police, that's how all the stuff came about being raped and stuff, because I don't know if I'm having a flashback of that. I don't know if someone was really in the garage. To me, someone was in the garage because I was naked. And when I say naked, like I was in like in these raw ladies, you know. And I knew the door had been closed earlier, but why was the door open that I had locked earlier today, like early in the night? But when I get like that and I think somebody's around or whatever, I go into protective mode and I'll walk the whole time and I'll watch the yard and I'll be like on the zone of thinking someone's coming in the house, you know. I don't know neighbors in Colorado. Like I know in California where I could call a neighbor, you know. And so the next thing I remember is Lena coming back in to brush her hair, which would have been 3 hours later, okay? I'm basing this on my cell phone records, you know what I mean? I snapped out of it when Lena asked me to brush her hair. Now you got to remember, like when Maria comes, they're in that world, but like.
Quick question, Melanie. How much longer is for this trial? You think is next week should be the wrapped up week and then 2 weeks or something like that, if you happen to know? And Melvia, I see you just creeped in here. Okay, what did Melvia just say? Donna, that's story about the 6-year-old little girl is over the news. The stepmama left her dead in the bucket in front of the biological mother's. Crystal and Melvia, I did not hear that one. Oh my gosh. Well, I will be looking that one up. You gotta be kidding me. Thank you, y'all, for letting me know. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Who just popped up in here? Arlo Monk. And hugs and kisses to you. Miss you like crazy. And I'm glad you're here. And mental illness is something else. Y'all need to check out his commentary. Oh, he goes in on the mental illness. And you got to watch out with people with the signs. Yes, you have to watch out for the signs. Wow. This is really sad. And it's so good to see you. So good to see you. Good to see you. All right, let me resume. Wait a minute. Okay, Melanie said something else. Hold a second, Melanie. What my girl Melanie said here. Melanie said this week should wrap. Okay, defense has nothing but Dr. Lewis. Oh, okay. So we're going to get down to the wire. All right, cool. And I also see who just creeped through the back door too. Lisa. Arlo. Love you. All right, everybody. Let's get back to it. Now I'm not going to keep y'all here forever today, because this is kind of a long one, but I want to just focus on what she says, because basically she's confessing about what she says is not her. It's one of the personalities. And then I'm going to share my thoughts too, because there's something I'm uncomfortable about with this whole thing, because when the defense cross-examines and they bring up some points, how do you really diagnose a person just in a few hours being with them? And she's chained up. You talking to her through a door, not close. I mean, how do you really get a proper diagnosis? Tell me what y'all think in the chat, and the people that's watching the replay. It's just my thoughts on it, you know. But there's something definitely wrong with her. But number one is she's serving the devil. This is one of Satan's daughters running around in the streets. This is her. Well, she's not running around the streets anymore. She'll never be back in the streets again. That's done. All right, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen.
They're not it's protected. You know what I mean? I don't remember sending anything to the boss about my stepdad. You know what I mean? It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So Lena gets up and I've been brushing her hair and I come back and I'm like looking around and I was like, oh, there's a fire. Why was I in the garage? Why was I this? That's when it started being like, did I dream this? Did this really happen? You know what I mean? So I go out to the garage. You know what I mean? That's when I grabbed my head and there was like matted blood on my hair. So I knew that I had really fell down the stairs. Like I thought I fell down the stairs. You know what I mean? And so that matted blood on my hair, whatever. So I just kept like messing with my hair, like trying to figure out what went on. Well, I knew Gannon had burns on his arms. I evaluated him that next morning when I snapped back into it. I didn't think that it was enough to go to the hospital or whatever. Because I was leaving, I had an extra cell phone. It was the phone I put in the dog food when I got arrested. So on that phone, I called in. That's how the call came in that Gannon was able to go that. They couldn't figure out like where this call came from. That's because it came from the extra phone. Told him again, so maybe he still was he's upset. He doesn't want to smell around the kids. when he had this accident. So we stayed out for the day. I realized on my phone that I had sent that message to the boss, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, I didn't remember sending it, but I don't know why was I thinking about my stepdad, what's going on. And I kept having these, at this point now, became flashbacks in the garage. And I was like, who was in the garage with me? But the whole time it was about Eduardo, which is the guy that Juan got to work to fix the carpet or whatever. That's who I kept having flashbacks with in the garage with. So we go forward, whatever. And I told Gannon, I said, you said you wanted to stay.
I had to pause. Melvia, I can't with you. I really can't. I don't care what one of the fake personalities it was. Put all of them in general population and let the inmates will solve her problem. Oh gosh. I can't. Thank you for sharing that, Melvia. Melvia be coming in hard on these people. I love it. And I don't blame you. Okay, let's get back to it. Alright. Resume.
Stay home. I said, no, you said my friends in the car came by. I don't want you here by yourself. You're going to go with me. I said, go grab your cover. You're going to go with me for today. I don't want you here by yourself. Now, typically, I let a kid stay home by herself because I researched Colorado law and it said that it was up to his parents and their discretion of how to be had to stay home. So I never had a problem with it. They would get off the bus before I get home. No issues. We had an alarm. You know, they had cell phones, everything. But so my paranoia was so bad that I was like, no, they're going with me today. So we did the cover. I moved the cars. And don't remember that part, but it's on the camera. Moving the cars. And I drive the truck for the day. And go get a bike. Part of the moving process will be boxes like that. So I was glad that the truck was left for me to use. You know. So me and him get in the car. I think it says around like no, before we get to 10 o'clock. Albert never writes us back at all that night about anything. So the next morning. And he's like, oh my God, I'm fired, right? And I looked at my phone and I didn't see anything. So that's why at first I thought, did the fire really happen? Because I never got a message back from Albert, you know. But then that morning he messaged back and I said, yes. I was like, he's okay. So that's when I sent a picture of Gannon in the bed that morning. Okay? So I was like, yes, he's fine. He's laying down. You know, he didn't go to school today. I called it in. I'm not going to work. I didn't go into explaining to Albert about me sending the message and losing my mind. Don't know what's going on about. I don't want him to be like, you know, freaked out 1,000 miles away. So I told Gannon, so let's just go out shopping for the day. Remember, we go get coffee that morning. We go get like Dunkin' Donuts. I think they had me at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't remember going to the gas store, but they had me at the gas store. Just basically going back shopping for the day. However, when I get to the PetSmart, these black cars from my PetSmart. And we're seeing cars on the freaking camera at PetSmart. Gannon's got his switch in the car laid out. Remember, I told you, he had burns in his arms and a few right here now. And I say they were very small. We're talking like centimeters, okay? They were anything that you would think that they needed medical attention. The park inside PetSmart. So you see me on the camera that PetSmart running back to the door, like looking out. My first thought was I wanted to make sure she was okay in the car because he was staying in his switch. Well, the car came back by.
I can't stop laughing. Melvia said, we waste too much time and money on people like this. As soon as we get rid of one, another one pops out with something worse than people. You just can't get rid of these people. It's so many people, Melvia, out here serving the devil. There's so many of them walking around here. Like I said, they everywhere. You know that little store that you go to every morning, go get that coffee, ladies and gentlemen? They could be serving the devil. Okay? Your pharmacists, they all over. The devil is all over. There's just so many people out here that's sick and twisted. And you have some people out here that have sick and twisted minds, but they might not act on it. But they love it when it's somebody else do it and it happens to someone. They sick and twisted. So you got those. But then you got the bold ones that'll just go out there and just do it. And another thing too is when they did evaluation on her, I don't understand how she's not considered to be a psychopath. I really don't. Because this is a psychopath. And especially where she was taking the little boy's body, shifting back and forth and stuff. Nah, I don't know. That's why I think she was misdiagnosed. I don't think she was diagnosed correctly. That's just my thoughts and opinions. Not saying I have any sympathy for her or whatever. Either way, she needs, she needs to go to jail. To go to prison. But what I'm saying is we just need to know a lot more about these personality disorders and people's, the things that people do so we can understand it more. That's why I get deep into this kind of stuff. Anything dealing with the human mind and their behavior and their reaction to stuff, and especially the criminal mind. It's like, how do they do this? That's why when that with that Jeffrey Dahmer story that was so interesting, the mother was fighting to have his brain examined, and I really wish that the father would, not been an a-hole and stop it. I wish they would examine his brain. He probably would have found out something. So I'm just saying my thoughts and opinions. All right, let me read this real quick what Melanie said before I start again. If the young man was too sick or injured to go to school, why did you take him out shopping for the day? Her story is full of BS. Well said. Well said. Well said. Okay, resume.
Go back in the PetSmart, come back to the door. And like, if you watch the camera footage of the PetSmart, you see me going back and forth to the door. Like, because how did they know where I was at this point? And that was Edgar's car because Edgar had the Beamer. Okay. And it was not a Beamer. So I leave the PetSmart. I think they said I bought something. Again, I don't remember. I leave the phone. Now, this is the only phone I had, which was Gannon's phone, because I was trying to hurry up out to the car.
Great point, Arlo. Great point.
So I leave the phone at PetSmart according to the GPS on the phone. So we go out, finish the day, we get Valentine's candy, and I'm like questioning him all the time. I'm like, what did they think else when they came to the house? What did they look like? Like trying to get the best information I could get out of him because he's pretty good at like his age. Like, like, okay, he's little. If you say, was it a purple shirt? And then, no, it was not purple. It was blue. Purple shirt. That's, so I knew I could get good information from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry I keep pausing, but y'all just have phenomenal comments. All right, Melanie said, and remember, Dr. Lewis testified for Dahmer. That was the one? Okay. Look how much good it did him. And she later publicly admitted that she misdiagnosed him. She's going to go through a tough cross when she testifies. Oh, wow. So that's the one. Ooh, pull out the crunch and munch and the cocktails or whatever you have, water, whatever it is. Oh, that's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward for that one. What Melvia said to Arlo? Well said. All right, let's get back to it.
So then we were driving on the back road, okay? The only reason we took a back road was because this thing called 25 was backed up. And so we took a back road to go to Castle Rock. And this guy lived in Castle Rock. So I called him on the site. They were going to ride by this address that was on that police report, and I was going to ask him to please stop. Like, whatever he wanted. Did you want money? Like, I didn't do anything to your car. I wasn't involved in this accident. Like, you have all my information. Now, the insurance had already deemed I wasn't responsible for it and that I was on a plane. So I was going to think about like, talking to this guy in Castle Rock. I probably would have chickened out when I got there, but that was my mindset. So we go on this back road, which I think is called County Line Road. We go on County Line Road, and Gannon talk about the castles. And so I'm like looking for the castles to try to like show them the castles because there's like some castles that are like. Then I got mixed up, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't have a cell phone to see how to get out of here because remember I need the cell phone. And so I couldn't figure out how to get out there. So I'm like doing U-turns, U-turns. Then I freak out because I thought the guy walking was my stepdad. That's why I was telling the police and the people that I was trying to like back the car up and go back forward because he could be dead. And I don't know if it was just from that morning because I said I bought that text message or what, but he was on that road. So I backed the car up, go back again, and I'm freaking out because he could be dead. This point is when I realized I'm not stable enough to be big bikes or going to talk to people or anything. So park the car for a minute, take a break or whatever. I don't know how long the break was. I remember taking the break. I remember them tapping me on the back of the shoulder, like, geez, we gotta go, like, gotta get leave from school. That's when I snapped back into it. And I remember driving the car back out the highway, like out of the county line road to go back to the house. Remember I told you I was talking again throughout the day. You said something about these kids, not him, but Lena. And I wanted him to go from boys. So him told that Lena got hit with something. I was going to go talk to that kid. That kid's mom was Don Wando. So we come back into the neighborhood, into the part where Wando Drive was at. Now, rewind a few days prior to that, him and the kid had been called. They're like the Smartie candy and they're like rolls. Well, they had been called a few days prior, fashion the Smartie candies and like they were doing drugs or whatever. My opinion was he should not have got this kid. So I was going to go try to talk to him.
Oh, it was you saying it was Ted Bundy. Even more interesting. They both just as sick though, just two different type of sickness. But with Ted Bundy, I mean, he was an attractive guy. You would just never think highly educated, and he was crazy. Did you see? I want to show that clip if I could find it. With the Ted Bundy, those women was crazy for him. They was coming in the courtroom. I know he's a serial killer, but I can't help it. He's just so cute. I'm telling you, these serial killers, they get women. They do. These women go crazy for him. They be getting all kind of letters. Donna was getting letters too. These women go crazy. They don't want the good guys. You know, gentleman who's a good guy, who won't put his hands on you, you know, provides to protect, treat you right. Nah. I want a serial killer. It's insane. I gotta do something on that one later on. Let's get back to it. Thank you, Melanie.
But once I had this whole like, my stepdad was on that road, I freaking stopped the car at Wando. Said, Gannon, how about you do this? Because he wanted a video game. I said, why don't you go to the mailbox, get the mail, and do your lap, and I will buy you that $60 game you wanted. Because they know we had been shopping and I only bought him at $20. So I told her I'd give points, and I said, give you points to give you the $60 game. So go to the mailbox and do your laps or whatever. So I don't know if Gannon got back in the car with me then or Gannon walked back to the house then, but we ended up back at the house on January 27th. So if you see the videos, you see me like pull in, drive back, do all this stuff. I don't remember all that. I don't know if I still thought that I was trying to like walk around with Dad. I just remember I went in the house and I just sit down and was like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? The alarm says I kept going to the back door and all over the house and like up, down, around, whatever. Well, what threw me off was when I got back to the house, right? The alarm showed there was motion in the house, but there couldn't have been because I set the alarm I left, but I put it on alarm stay. Because the dogs are in the house, people would say that could have been what triggered the alarm. No, our dogs doing crazy. That's not what triggered the alarm. Couldn't have been. And so I ran downstairs thinking, okay, well, maybe go ahead, Eduardo, come over here and fix this, carpet or whatever. So I ran downstairs, whatever. At some point in time, like I said, I don't remember getting walked back in the house or drove back with me. But he then comes back into the house. Said he's going to go play on the game. And I said, did you do your laps? And I remember us having that conversation. Then I go back upstairs to work out. What the police have about January 27th is absolutely not true because it's January 28th. Okay? So the day goes on through that, right? Everything happens. I don't know where Gannon's at. Call the police. All that was going on. Everything that happened on that time was going on. They came in our house with, I think it was like 15, 20 body cams. You can clearly see, and I watched these body cams until I made myself sick, that you can see these body cams come in and nothing is out of order. Nothing is happening. Nothing is wrong at all. And I watched them over and over and over till I obsessed on them, you know. When Harley comes home, Lena come in that day, we were going to go eat sushi.
What Arlo says, pornography and his mentally disgusting mother who drove Ted Bundy on his murderous rampage. You see? Stuff that y'all do to these kids growing up really messes them up in the future. Really do. They really do. Sure do. And who just creeped through the back door? Okay, Rusty done creeped through the back door. Well. Good afternoon and happy Sunday. And a happy Sunday to you and blessings and blessings. All right, let's get back. Lisa says so. What Lisa said, what is she babbling about? She's basically talking about the day of the crime, the day of his murder. But we don't know, some of the stuff might be kind of true, some of it not. And she has all these different personalities. So we don't, she says, if I'm correct, Maria did all of it. But it's kind of hard to hear because the audio on it's kind of choppy. So it's a little bit on the choppy side. All right. Let me see what Melanie says. Her thought, but do you think he was still alive when she put him in the suitcase? She insists he was dead on the 28th, not the 27th. Melanie, you and I think so much alike too on this. Because I was wondering too, was he alive? I wouldn't be surprised. Her and Psycho Sarah both need to be put in suitcases and share the same cell together. I said it. All right. Rusty said, disagreed. Bundy's mother hit the bricks, became a social worker. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to it.
Gannon is not a fan of sushi. So at this point in time, I'm like, we'll figure out something else to get. Gannon usually is home by the time that if the sun's not down, it'd be 6 o'clock. But it was raining. So we get in the car, they have us on the car raining, like leaving in the rain. To go right there across the street, ask this neighbor if we've seen him. No, we haven't seen him. So we pull back up.
There's like 15 people up in here. Why the likes is not mathing up? Just hit the like. It don't cost you anything. What's the problem? People in the bushes. Go hit the like. Just hit it. Helps out the content creator. Unless you're just not trying to help me out, then why would you subscribe to the channel? I don't get it. All right, let's get back to it. And thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody for engaging. I appreciate it. Resume.
Out. I'm pacing the house, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Because I'm like, he's doing this big hiding challenge. Now, reverse back to this hiding challenge. They have a YouTube channel. Their mom and stepdad made, and like, if you find their YouTube videos, Cool Kids Tube is their YouTube channel. They would do these hiding challenges where, like, Elena would be in the box, and they would pretend like they were getting shipped all these places. We went over to me and the mom. Nothing we thought was bad about the kids wanted to do YouTube videos. Flashback to So I said, he's doing this hiding challenge. So at first, Reese was talking to me. I'm just sitting there like, man, he said, do you want, and I know this is going to fall in the video, do you want me to check the house? And I said, yes. Because I knew the hiding challenge Lisa trained. You can't tell me, Tiffany, please, came in the house and didn't find him. You can't tell me that. That's because it was not true. So they did all this, whatever. The night goes on. Robert called me back. And I'm a wreck at this point. I'm telling him about this craziness, and I'm telling him about the garage. It's all over the place. All the stories, it kind of like started like throughout the day. It was constantly rain was all over the place. And I was going back and forth like this and the fire. So he sends the officer back to check on me. According to the report, the officer comes back to check on me. And at this point is when I got scared. At this point, I know Gannon enough to know his meds wears off. He's going to get everything. At this point in time, we haven't even eaten dinner. I haven't even fed the kids. We never even made it to our dinner trip. So that's when I became really, really, really worried. All of us are in the house, and we're like, they went on different searches, whatever. I stayed at the house to make sure of anything, if anyone called, if anyone done anything. That was the last thing on January 27th before it hits January 28th. So January, you'll make it on January 28th now. You want to keep on January 28th, or did you need it? Okay. So then January 28th, which would hit 12 a.m. in the morning, right? The January 28th comes on. There's people like whatever, there's a knock on the window. My bedroom window, right? So I had decided that we were going to all sleep upstairs. The reason for that was I get paranoid like that, and the only way I can protect Hardy and Lena is I have them near me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, look, all of us are sleeping up here. We're going to all be up here. I knew I wasn't going to get much sleep. But for the kids, they were going to sleep upstairs. I dozed off for a minute. There was a knock at the door, being at the window. So the knock at the window happens, and I literally go to the window, but I don't see anybody. I remember getting in the car, driving out, because maybe that was Gannon, maybe it was. I drive. Video shows me driving out of the neighborhood, out of the yard, but coming right back or whatever. Or I can't remember. I don't remember that part, but I do know the video shows me going out to the car or something, and I come back inside. I keep hearing the same loud noise. And so I laid out like this, hear the same loud noise, and I know Edgar was on his way back over. Edgar wasn't going to be there when the police was there. He didn't want any problems or whatever. He was like, I'm going to just go out and look. What does the black car look like? I knew Edgar was going to be on his way back over that morning because they were going to help me move all the stuff to Florida. That was his whole plan, to show back up that morning anyway, not even knowing what that Gannon was missing. So Edgar was coming back for that morning anyway. So I thought Edgar was getting there early or whatever, but I didn't see him out there outside. When I laid on the sofa like this, heard it again, I forgot. At this point, I think someone's in the house. Now, I didn't have my handgun on me because when the police came earlier, if you look at the footage, they had my handgun in the car. They searched the car, searched everything on the body cams, and this is what we came up with between me and putting details together my team. My handgun was in my car because it was on the video. So I don't know if I let Edgar in the back door or if he came in through the garage. But I kept telling him I keep hearing someone in the house, and he was like, "No, you're just paranoid. You're just afraid. You don't know we're getting that." So again, me, Edgar, Angelica, that's Edgar's family, and Lena were all.
Why, sometimes why it's confusing when you're dealing with these cluster B personality disorders, these narcissists, sociopaths, and antisocial personality disorders, sociopaths. They talk a language that's called word salad, and it's very confusing to understand because it's all over the place. Like a salad, you just throw all kind of stuff in there. That's what it is. They have this own little language. That's why you ever notice, if you ask them a question, and you'll just ask them about something, and basically you're putting them on the red carpet. They did something wrong. And they just talk about this, talk about that. But you will never get that direct answer. And then you'll leave them, and your head will be hurting. Because you'll be like, what just happened? They didn't answer. Why don't you just answer the question? Because they're crazy. Yep, that's what they do. And it drives people nuts. Okay, resume.
All in the house. Harvey, Lena, I think Angelica was laying down, and Ty was on his way back. I go to school in Florida. I was on his way back here. Whenever that noise again, I realized my handgun is in the car. I never drove my car. It was in the car all day. Me and Edgar jump up, okay? But here, and I started going down the stairs slowly, and I went back up the stairs. And I was like, downstairs. Now, I don't know who's downstairs, what's going on. I don't even know if anyone's in the house or if it's just the people looking or what's going on. When we go back downstairs, Edgar has the other handgun on him. Something over the front stairwell is going in. It looks like a cape. Okay? So it's like a cape wrapped around it. Goes straight into the back bedroom. As soon as I see him go to the straight back bedroom, I'm going to instantly go into protection mode. I went to go grab the gun from Edgar because I thought the person in the cape. I didn't know who it was. happened with the whole Michael the Archangel, the whole thing that happened with my stepdad, and when I grabbed it from him, the gun hits me and then hits the person in the cape. At the time, I didn't know who the person in the cape was. Oh, standing on top of the bed. I didn't know at the time it was standing on top of the bed. Until later on, when I sat down with my attorneys and we put it together and realized it, I didn't know until that point that it was Gannon standing. Because prior to that, I thought the whole like cape thing. We put it together over and over and over, and I sit and I cry with him. I did this with him, everything. The only thing that comes to my mind is that the way the cover was wrapped, that's what had to look like the cape, was the way that he had the cover wrapped around him. They can think what they want, whatever about me. I never was purposely hurt Gannon or hurt anyone that I would have thought it would have been Gannon. Never in a million years, okay? Never. I had these kids all over the country. If I was going to do something like that, it would be somewhere in another country. Like, come on, like people who want to kill people do it because they want to take someone's life. That's not what happened. They paint me as this monster, and I did all these crazy things. I never once knew it was Gannon. I, in fact, didn't even know it was Gannon until later on. The reason I didn't is Lena, I guess the noise woke Lena up. If you read the report, Lena told you that she helped carry Gannon's body. That report in her interview, she says on that Gannon's body's not moving. That's because she was there and she helped carry Gannon's body to the floor. I couldn't get him up the stairs. I didn't even know it was Gannon at that time until I moved him over. I lose it. Like, I am all over the place, like, screaming, crying. That's how Lena hears me. Lena's helped me. Now, Harley's still asleep. She hasn't woke up to read any of this. Harley's a hard sleeper. Lena helps me tote Gannon up the stairs. I'm throwing up, like, blood, the side of him. Like, I literally thought Gannon is still alive. Gannon is barely talking. Okay? We try to get him up steps, which we did. We take him up steps. I'm like, all over the place. We get out the garage to go to the car. Not blank out. Because at this point, I think I was in complete and utter shock. And I know I'm throwing up because I see all this later. So when I tell you I know I'm doing something, I sit back and written time and figure this out because I was stressed on it. I remember being in the car on the passenger side, and we were taking Gannon to the hospital. But I was on the passenger side, okay? Now my leg's bleeding, which if you look at the footage from the hospital, you can see where I got hit with a bullet, okay? But my leg's bleeding. And that's probably why there was a little bit of my blood on the car. I don't know at this point. I don't know if she went back in the regular party. I don't know anything because I remember waking back up in the car and being like, there's no palm trees. Now, you say, what is palm trees? In South Carolina, when you go to the hospital and there's palm trees, it's on the Grand Strand. That's why it's called Grand Strand. The beach, and then there's palm trees. I didn't see any palm trees when we were in the car, so I didn't think I was on the right road. I was in the passenger seat, not in the driver's seat. Next thing I know, when I wake back up, I hear a loud noise, like a howling noise, like a noise. And it reminds me of like when my grandpa died, and he made like this noise. That was the noise I heard when I wake back up and I'm in the garage, in the car. Now we look at camera footage, and my car does go out 5 minutes. So leave the neighborhood. So what we put together is that it must have been when I went out in the car hearing the noise, that must have been when Gannon took his last breath, and I was still out of it. Come back in and park the car. Or come back to until Lena came back outside to the car, and Lena's asking what's going on, what's everything. I go to the house. Harley's face, Lena's face, they're all just like white, like they've seen a ghost. Like they don't even know what's going on. Police, like the whole world, as if this ain't really going on. Like there is no way this happened. Like there's nothing wrong, y'all. Everything's fine. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be home. That's when I started going through like all the motions of, going to go get this person, because to me it wasn't really going on. Like this was, you can't even compare this to a nightmare. To have gone through that, you can't compare it to a nightmare. That is far from a nightmare. And to know that he was speaking to me and Lena as we were trying to take him up the stairwell, and then it was like none of it was real. So I just started going into different personality of like, this ain't really going on. We got to find him. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I guess somehow I go on to the airport. I don't remember any of that, but I want footage going on to the airport. I want footage just talking to people and saying like, we're going to find him. Like, I don't really like remember that vividly. But I know I did it because I've seen it. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't do it because it was there. It's like me talking to people, me doing it. I got just disassociated, and I was like, this is not real. That there is no way this happened. So, Edgar, or another male, is a family member, and I'm not going to say their name. Somehow during this mix, when I was like going crazy trying to go get Albert, and I was screaming, everybody talking like it's an accident, it's an accident. I think they have one of the things reports where I was like, I didn't ever know it was Gannon because I really didn't. It was someone that came. The reason he was taller was because the bed was sitting, like, you think a twin bed. He was standing on the bed. So to me, or to whoever I was, thought that was a person in a cave. That's the only reason. At all. That is the only reason.
Look at her. She can't lift her head up. Whenever it comes to when these clips like this happen, she always has her head down. Always do. Wow. You had so much hate for this boy. But I think it was more towards the father. And with him being, his firstborn and the son carrying his name, you want to destroy that. Because that boy was carrying his name and it was his firstborn. You want to destroy that. You want to hurt him bad. Because I don't know, Lady J, what do you think? I'm really curious about the sister. How did she treat Gannon's sister? I would like to know. And did the sister have any special needs, anything like that? Because I'm like, why she zeroed into this kid? Why just him? I'm just curious. Why just him? Why she just zeroed in on him? Why she didn't zero in on, the other one? Right there. You see that the sister. That's why I'm thinking more of the lines of his firstborn and carrying his name. Just something to think about. I don't know. Just my thoughts and opinions. So y'all can share your thoughts. Tell me what you think. And if people's watching replay, what do you think of that one? That's something that's another thing that's puzzling with me too. Alright, let's get back to it. And the people that's coming in, welcome to Donna Just Being Real. Feel free to engage. If not, you're going to sit back and listen. No problem. Just hit the like button. Alright? Glad to have you here. Let's get it.
And like, I played this back, like I said, 50 million times in my head. Like, was I in the right mind to turn the light switch on? No. My mind was in the protecting mode because he wasn't there. The police was there. He wasn't there. Where was he at? Like, this was somebody in the house. It was probably someone trying to molest him. It was probably someone trying to hurt one of us. So what I was already going through with my stepdad earlier in the day, Maria could have thought it was my stepdad. He could have thought it was anyone.
Arlo, I truly agree with you, and this is what I talk about all the time. And remember, people who commit these horrific crimes are no longer regular human beings. They're not. They are infested with one or many demons. That's why I say you have a lot of people walking around here that's the devil's helpers. You got people serving God that do right, even people that serve God, we slip up and stuff. But we don't do stuff like this. And we repent, we have remorse. But when people don't have remorse and they don't have empathy, they just don't care. It's something seriously wrong with them. And when you see that in a person that you might be dating, friends with, married to, or your children or your parents, my advice for you is to stay the heck away from them. I'm serious. Because these are some dangerous people. And especially when you like in a dating relationship, you have to watch out for these signs and see. Because if you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have no direction, in life, no empathy, no remorse. They just don't care. Oh, you're gonna have problems at the end. You are. But so many people want to date thirsty. Not smart. I'll say that for another day's commentary. Let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, who did I just see creep through the back door? My girl Jackie, listening from the bushes, scrubbing and huffing. All right, girl. Thank you for saying something. Thank you for being here. Love you, girl. This is insane, right, Jackie? This whole thing is insane. All right. Oh, another person just creeped through the back door. Wait a minute. Hold a second. We got to Marlene creep through the back door. Alrighty, girl. And let me just get this time to say is, and yes, and Jackie's here too. I want to do something that either it's gonna be on Discord or on this stream here on the with the StreamYards, right? But what I need is people to email me so I can get your email. And I can send you a link because we're going to have a movie night. But I cannot put the movie out on here because YouTube is going to flag. It's going to be all kind of problems and I'm going to get in trouble. Okay? Because these movies you cannot put out there. But it's going to be an educational movie. And I wanted to do a movie like dealing with... I wanted to go back. I wanted to do the black and white movie Mildred Pierce. Or I'm going to do maybe Sybil with the different personalities. That old movie. Something educational. So... please get in contact with me. Give me an email. And this will probably, it's going to be on the Sunday. But, next weekend is... Hold a second, ladies and gentlemen. Hold a second. What's happening next weekend? All right. Damn, we're going into a new month, right? Oh, time is so short. So next weekend, wait a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just give me a second here. Listen to the music while I get myself here together. Just listen to the music. Okay. Okay, now I'm better now. Okay, now what are we going to do? I want to do this. Let me tell you the date that I want to do this. It's going to be in May. And I want to do it because the 21st. May the 21st. You know what? Scratch what I just said. Let me make this announcement of the day. But basically, just email me, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in it. And if we do it with the StreamYard, I have to figure out the date because we're getting into Memorial Weekend too. But it's going to definitely be on a Sunday. But we're going to watch a movie. But what I said is I need your email so you can, I get your email and I can send you the link for the StreamYard. Or I can send you the link from the Discord. I know some people don't have Discord or whatever, but don't worry about it. You don't have to show yourself and be on the screen or nothing like that. It's the same way that we do in this live stream, right? And you could be in the chat or you could be on the panel with me. You can be up on the panel, whatever. It's fine, whatever you choose to be. But don't worry about it. You're not like it's going to be on YouTube or you have to talk, right? So just email me. And you can find my email in the description so I can send you the link and we can go from there. All right. And it's going to be an education movie. I might do Mildred Pierce, like I told you before, that black and white movie, because I don't know why Mildred Pierce comes to my mind with Joan Crawford. Mildred Pierce with Joan Crawford. I don't know why that movie comes to my mind with this one here when it's dealing with this Satan's daughter and her daughter Harley. Yeah, let's look at Harley. Can't stand that girl, that little liar. Yeah, Harley. Or we might do Sybil. I'm feeling more of Sybil. Just let me know. You email me, tell me what you think, and we do a vote or whatever. Either Sybil or Mildred Pierce, okay? But it's going to be on the Sunday, and it will be around about 4:30 or 5 o'clock Eastern time, around that time. But like I said, email me and send me so I can get your email address. We can go from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's resume.
We would find her email. She's going to protect. that part of me goes protection, goes to protect everyone else about me. So there was never a moment. So there's no murder, there's no hurt, there's no intent. Look, I had everything I wanted in my life. Career, this, that, you name it. There was no reason to hurt anyone in my home. I gained absolutely nothing out of hurting a child. But abuse, negativity, shit, as crazy as an evil stubborn, I took care of this kid and he was important. So like, go through that. No, I had to carry him upstairs. He was dying. There's never, I could never in a million years tell anybody what it was like. I was not okay. Once I was at 4, because I felt working down with someone in a cape. Like, how do you even explain that again? It's small that you think it's someone in a cape. You can't. You know? So then what happened after was even worse because I never even moved again. I'm not going to incriminate anyone. The male person, I'm not going to do that. Because it wasn't any intent there to harm anybody. There was no intent for anything. I went crazy thinking I could raise him in the bed. I was driving him around with the Burger King, trying to get him Happy Meals. I freaking took him back to GameStop to get that $60 game that I told you about that I told him to get earlier. That's how freaking crazy I was going. But I was like, he's going to wake up. You know, I don't know if y'all know Andrew Womack. I tried to find Andrew Womack's house. But he brought his son back from the dead from 5 hours at Memorial. And I grew up watching the Daily Gospel. And Womack, so I just kept thinking, like, God gives people power to bring it back from like this is not supposed to be happening. All I feel not even believing this is even happening. That's how my mind shifts. The older male person finally at some point told my mom that I had completely lost it because I told you my mom came out here. My mom, brother, they were all like, you have lost it. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. They already do, but they weren't sort of, you know, involved themselves in it. Like, you are going crazy. You need to go to a hospital. I didn't have anything to do with body being moved. I really kept saying he has to get back to China. That's where his grandma and grandpa have a farm. That's where he was there. But like, the person left me. Couldn't carry it anymore. And the whole thing was him to be buried in South Carolina. So it wasn't to be like, you know, something else. That was the whole thing. I was not well enough to get him there. That's why the male person is the person who tampered with evidence and who tampered with the body. That was not me. Not that they didn't tell you that. They know with him by weapon and did this part. I'm telling you. I started the first case that comes out. And the freaking, you think about a cape. What is about colors on a cape? Red, black. What do I think about? What was going on in my mind during the day before I said that? If someone was trying to molest him, someone was hurting these kids. Just going through my brain. Or I never, like, I didn't even have my own handgun on me. I don't even like them. I didn't even shoot them. Not even me, Maria to shoot them. I can't shoot them. So, like, yeah. And like, if someone to get to hear the truth of it, it's like the hardest thing because people are like, oh, why didn't you turn the light on to see if someone's in a cave? What do you mean? Like, I sit there and told my therapists and people that, like, do you think I had that thought process? There was never even a thought to be like, hey, that's not even a thought I had. It is a thought is when Maria comes, it protects whoever's in this house. That's exactly what happened. There was no intent, there was no hurt, there was no ill will, there was no anger, there was no passion. I looked at every definition they have in this book because I was just on it. None of that is right. That's not what happened. And you can't even say like there's no self-defense because you need to know. I thought this was someone else. Like, how do I know who this is? I'm not in the right mindset to decide, to make that decision. I didn't know right or wrong. Which is what I was doing. My mind goes to there's kids in this home, there's Lena, there's Harley, and one of my kids are missing. That's the mindset. That's the truth. So I don't know if y'all heard, read, seen, whatever, but that is 100% true. It was on January 28th, not January 27th. I don't know why they're all wrong.
And so we don't know how Robbie ended up in Florida. Am I correct?
No, so, okay.
Melvia, you be coming in with this. This case alone is a reason to respect the people in the court system. They can't sit there and listen to this kind of BS every day. You have a point. Every day, listen to this. Just listen to this. Resume.
Leaving, they held me back. So because people were going crazy in the neighborhood, they were like threatening to kill me, like all this. The police allowed me to leave. They came and helped me pack. There is body cam footage of them packing the van up with my clothing and the police are there. They allowed me to leave. Okay? I'm still in that mindset of like, I don't know what, like, this can't be going on. This is worse than a nightmare. This, in my mind, it kept being like, I'm going to wake up and this is just one of these bad dreams. Like, that's how it's been. Like, this is not happening. Like, there's got to be some camera popped out any moment for some show or something. I don't want to call it denial. It was more so of like, it was not reality. That was not. So they helped me load the car up. There was another male person who was, again, I'm not going to say their name because at the end of the day, they're still my family. He was trying to protect me and was like, you need to stop, you need help, like you've lost your mind. And he was trying to protect me. I'm trying to protect him. I just kept saying, I'm going to Florida and I'm going to drop myself off and then I'm going to go to South Carolina because I knew that's where LaRonda and Mac lived. And I just kept yelling at them. LaRonda and Mac lived there. I got to go talk to them. And I know this only through their interviews, what they've said to my people. I just kept yelling. Got to get to LaRonda and Mac. Somewhere in my brain, I guess it recognized LaRonda Mac or Gannon Stauch, his mom, dad. And like, those are the only people that ever helped me. So like, some part of my brain was like, just kept that I got to talk to them and I talk to them and I talk to them. So I get in the car. I don't remember really driving. Like, they have me on stores where I go into stores to buy stuff and I swear on my breath. I don't even remember going to these stores. I'm not even a driver. I ride on planes. So for me to even be in a car that long, that's how much I was out of this world. And then at some point in time, I'm supposed to like meet them and they call me and they're like, you're losing your mind. We're not going any further. We're not going to South Carolina. I could not get Gannon up. Very kid. Because my mindset kept saying, I'm taking him to South Carolina, to his grandparents' farm, so he can have a proper burial. Because if he would have been buried, like, if Albert would have had control of it in Colorado, he would have never, like, let Mom be involved in anything. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just kept saying, let's go to LaRonda and Max. They can make a good decision. If they don't know what to do, they can help me bring me back to life. That's when the mill person intervened and kept saying, you're losing your mind. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. And I have to protect them, too, because I'm not going to go out saying their name. The common thing is you can put two and two together, the mill figures that were here, but just never hear it out of my mouth. At the end of the day, still. And he was just trying to, like, figure out why I was going crazy and help me at the same time figure out, like, this is really reality what's going on. But that was the only reason he ended up in Florida, because when they left me, he never wrote. Like, his body was never with me. His body was never in the car. They pulled the whole van apart and seeing that there was no DNA evidence at all. And then he was never in the van that I drove by myself. Never. Ever. It wasn't until I get to Florida and I'm telling everybody, like, we have to bring back life, LaRonda can help. Those individuals who flew on an airplane and went to Florida after they got off the airplane, listen, I could not pick them up to carry him anymore. That is the only reason. Or else, I don't know, my investigators have asked me, what was your plan? Was you just going to pull up at the farm in South Carolina? And I said, I didn't have a plan. There was, in my mind, that's probably what I was trying to think about doing, is getting to LaRonda and Max, but like, there was never a plan. Like, I don't know if I was going to pull up there and, lose my mind, tell them what had happened. I didn't know. I just knew running has been part of my life. So running always makes them disappear. Like, it's not real. So I was under the impression that this was all just a nightmare, that as soon as I got away from this, I was just going to snap back into it, and this was not really what happened. But it never happened that way. Then I started, like, when I was in South Carolina, I was telling people crazy stuff. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I just kept saying to people, it's not what you think. This is not what happened. He's going to come back to life. And, like, all my friends in South Carolina kept being like, what do you mean he's not going to come back? He's going to come back to life. What is going on? And I know by this point, I'm no medical professional, but I know for a fact that I was in a form of psychosis. Because I never in my life have been through hallucinations. I never in my life have been through the things I was going through to explain that. To think that there was a person in the cave. To think that this person was harming somebody. I never had been that height. And it caused me to ruin. It's not about me. It's Landon's life. Landon's life. Harley's life. Like, I don't know. One split decision that wasn't even right. Every single day. So yeah, to me, sometimes I do check in all reality. They're like, this ain't real. Be back. And with all my heart, I took care of it. Oh, literally gave him minimum. Freaking took him to school. Did schoolwork. Did everything. What? Did anything. You know. Well, that's what the last 2 years. Great. Then people make up these things about stab marks. It's not stab marks. Those were from the fire. I've looked at the autopsy work to the point that I've memorized it. They say like 1.2 centimeters, 1.4. We're talking centimeters. That's from the fire. I don't care what they say. There was never anybody doing anything, slicing, dashing, whatever the hell the news puts on there. And that's not true. There were marks from the fire. Which was exactly what I told them. They were on the arms and chest. Just why I told them when I was going through these stories and my brain was so convoluted. It all went together. And I was talking about the rape. I was talking about the garage. I was talking about marks. I was talking about bleeding. Like, I was such, like, shocked.
Melanie just brought up a great point. And I was going to ask you about that. I was going to email you about that because I just found this out. She literally making up stories to explain what she had seen in Discovery. She was pro se for a bit. And when she had all evidence. Yes. I remember that. I just found this out. I didn't realize that she was actually going to try to be her own attorney. So she had the evidence. She knew what they was talking about. Tell you, these narcissists are a piece of work. They are a piece of work. So we don't know. Maybe she only did that so she can get the evidence, but she knew she wasn't going to represent herself. And another thing too is, you know what? Let's pause for a second. Let's read the poll. Let's see how many questions. Oh, we got 15 votes. Alrighty now. We got 15 votes. Do you think Letecia was off? Do you think Al seeing Letecia was off and should have kept this I messed up my spelling. I'm sorry. Kept his children away from her. All right. And we have 15 votes, and 53% says, of course, Donna. And 0% says, Donna, he didn't know. But 47% says, I'm still trying to figure it out. So it's kind of a little bit of a tie. But more people says, of course, Donna. All right, let's get back to it.
All of it went together in these crazy, it was almost like I was talking my word salad all over the place. Nothing was coherent with one of those things. Didn't really understand what that ain't no approach that people take to get out of crimes. I've never been a felon, I've never been that. You don't just wake up one day and decide to start murdering people. It's because it was not meant to be. Even this thing, everything in my mind was bad. She was raping, she was lesbian, she was gun here, she was gun there. I watched this body cam footage so much that, like, everybody's like, well, where was he at that night? They opened the one closet with ornaments and stuff. I swear to you, I see it move. I see it move with the cover. And I'm telling everybody on my team, I'm like, y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see that. That's where he was hiding at. That's where he was at the whole night of the 27th. How did that guy miss him? How did he come in there with freaking body cam, trained to find people, trained like his hiding, trained at that and miss that? How? That's why I go back and forth with everything they have. Because had he not blamed this on him, because God knows I would never blame someone else like that. Had he done that, the outcome probably be different. Yeah, absolutely. I don't like the person know that is not some person in the house getting ready to take another kid, hurt me, hurt her. That Maria thinks like that. She doesn't think rational. She doesn't think let's do this the right way. She thinks I'm about to hurt anybody that's about to hurt people I love. Wow. Hard being pain like you just don't know how bad I just be want to sit down with my other. I can't change my mental state. But you gotta know in your heart it was not her getting it. I didn't go back to teaching kids. Never like I have no history of anything. Like even the FBI testified with the fans and the prelim was like, there's no history of any kind of abuse. She did not abuse these kids. They said like because I was the one that always came to rescue them for everything. And now I don't even get to like even talk Lane of the bio, get to say anything, and they have to, she has to think that the world I heard her brother like, come on, like, oh. But I was in autopsy report and it said like within the jaw, and it was like far away. And I'm like, but I always like try to sit there and try to piece together any of these pieces I'm missing. Like what point am I missing this part? I'm missing this part. Everything is like the evidence is all consistent. You're gonna get listen if you're gonna kill somebody, you don't shoot them in the jaw. Murderers kill people. Most female people who kill people are psychopaths and they poison people and they do all the time. Not even knowing it's them and it hit them in the jaw. And they paint it as this murder. Just listen, so like some children, like, come on. Never had a scratch on their body. Ever in their life. Ever. So this is what happens. And trying to get these people to like understand that is the hardest thing ever. Because had I not, maybe if I hadn't been going through it, I was going through the day thinking my stepdad was still alive. Maybe I like trying to replay everything. Maybe if like I wasn't worried about these people and I let them stay home that day. You know, maybe would have left because I thought the whole car situation, people trying to follow me from the stupid car accident thing, like, and I tried to think that might have switched, that might have kept me from being at the state I was in. But then they like painted this whole thing about cleaning supplies. If you guys have seen the receipt, the carpet powder. I mean, I've memorized the receipt. It's trash bags, carpet powder, candy, nothing in there ever sent anyone to get cleaning supplies. Pull up the receipt all day long. And say it. It's not true. Right?
I can understand so it's a lot. Well, it's had a very long day. We'll probably be stopping here at this point in time. We'll wait. All of them.
So you guys hear like a lot of like stones getting numb, so like what people do and stuff. Whatever you do, please just don't ever take the whole mindset that these people took. You won't ever find it in my history. Ever. You said ever, nothing like that from the children.
I do appreciate you all.
Work pretty hard to consider all of the.
I'm gonna leave the day a lot, but I don't deserve this. At all. Some people would just be like, oh, I don't need to do it better. No. From the beginning, I got in and out of it at CJC in the beginning, and I kept being like, this is not real to me. But at some point, it hits you, and you're like, okay, no, those cameras are coming out. No, this is really going on. And people just got to see me, and they're like, wait a minute, something right. Like, you are like, always follow rules. You don't do this, you don't do that. Like, just don't make any sense. And so, I know last time you guys know that they were like, I was hard at the jail, but like, once they got to know that that's not who I am, things got easy. Like, they weren't, I say easy, but you know what I mean? Like, they didn't think of me like, of how this is. They started more and more being like, there's something we're missing, and I always just feel like you just have no idea of what is actually missing from you. It's not because someone, that's not true. Whether you want to call it that on paper or someone's life ended, there's 100% no determination. Me not turning the light switch on or turning it on, off, on. Me determining who was there, who was not, caper, under the caper not.
Francine did it again, and thank you again for the blessings. Al is damaged goods. 6 years of her new wife, beware. I'm not feeling Al. I'm not feeling Harley, yes. Yeah, I've said that several times. These are all my thoughts and opinions. I'm not feeling Al. How are you going to marry somebody you only know for 4 months? Oh, by the way, you was married, cheating on your wife, and met this bimbo, murderer, Satan's daughter, for 4 months and marry her. Yep, no. And Harley, too, the stepdaughter. Don't like her either, because I think she lied on that stand. And I really hope that this angel's biological mother, hopefully she sued the heck out of all of them. Sue Harley. Sue her ex-husband. Because you kept our children away from me, from her. Because you felt she was unfit, but you felt Satan's daughter was better. But look what happened. He's gone now. And I think Harley is a mini-me of her mama. Yeah, I said it. Not saying she's a killer, but she has a bit of narcissistic traits. Yep, I said it. All right, let's get back to it. And thank you again, Francine. Reason.
There was no determination of black stuff in it. And I've read that, every part of that book, I told you I read it. There was no determination of black stuff. Because in the reason, he's here, in the house, they need to be checked. So that, like, whether he was alive that day or not alive that day, I still struggle with that. Like, I'll still get to jail, like, thinking he's there, having these nightmares, or whatever. But I'm like,
I didn't see you creep through the back door, Black Lady Jane, and blessings to you, blessings to you. Reason.
I didn't know when it will stop. Like, I didn't know when it ever stopped. Like, he's doing those things.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll take our morning recess. If I can have everyone back in the jury.
Here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online.
Towards the end of the interview, she says, I'm females who kill people are psychopaths. They poison people. Remember saying that?
Yes.
Do you recall from the autopsy whether or not Gannon had quite a bit of hydrocodone in his system when he died?
I remember reading that somewhere.
I love me some Melvia. Melvia don't play. Hit the goddamn like button. That's right, Melvia, tell them. I don't understand what people. I don't understand. What is it? You pressing the dislike? You don't want to be here? Then why subscribe to the channel? Just unsubscribe. There's plenty of channels like you don't have to be here if you don't like the commentary. I can't. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Mel, you said there's 17 over here. Okay. Okay. I love y'all. Thank you so much for being supportive to the channel and caring about the channel and understanding my content and the message that I'm putting out there. I appreciate all the blessings that everybody's sending to my channel. I appreciate all the emails. I appreciate the viewers' requests. I appreciate the coaching, everything. I really do appreciate, because you're getting what it's all about on my channel. All right, it's all about trying to help people to date smart, not thirsty. We have to go deeper into things. I'm not out here trying to bash bash, the victims and stuff like that. But we need to figure out exactly what could have been prevented, what we could have did, the red flags we could have did to prevent this from happening. Because this little angel right here, this should have never happened. That's just 100%. It should have never happened. I see so many red flags. And that's why I pick all these certain different cases and stuff this show. And I do things in ammunition. And I do things with, the trials and news, crime news and stuff. And I use those as teaching tools. Because my channel is all about learning and teaching. And to help people to date smart, not thirsty, and beware of toxic people. Because not everybody that comes into your life has good intentions. So we have to be aware. And when you have that little gut feeling, I feel that's God talking to you. He's telling you something. And we need to listen to it. But so many times we don't. Resume.
Now, she comes back on June 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
Was that date already in plan, or how did that date come about as for her coming back for you and Dr. Gray to interview her?
That was the soonest that we could set the interview, given some vacation time, but also we were waiting for some documents, I believe, from Mr. Tellini as it related to possibly interviews with family members. We were waiting for something else in addition.
Okay. And so up until this point, had you made an opinion with regard to Ms. Stauch's sanity?
Not yet.
You're still gathering information?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, I'm going to play a portion. Let me see how much time we have, Your Honor. Do you want to start it now, or do you want to wait? And
Council approach for a minute.
yes.
What did Jackie say? I'm going to have to listen to Harley's testimony. I tapped out of that early because her vocals fried voice got on my nerves. Didn't it get on your nerves? I agree. Oh, let me pick up the speed.
We're going to go ahead and start the video.
Oh, the video's going to start.
Lunch break. So if you want to have a seat in the back, you can do that. And so for the record, Your Honor, this is going to be People's Exhibit 728. We're going to start it at 57 minutes and 33 seconds. And we'll stop it when I see you look at me and tell me to stop it.
Gosh, we all be thinking alike. I was thinking about that too. I wonder how the people on the base look at him. That's a very good question. I know I wouldn't look at him too well, because I know I'll be watching the trial. Yep. What a shame. What a shame. All right, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen.
around dark, Charlie comes home, we go to stuff we're supposed to get or whatever. And then at some point, we were going to eat sushi. That's when we started. Would have been maybe 5, 6.
Okay, I'm sorry when I'm late on this because I'm like way behind on the comments. I'm catching up. But Black Lady Jane, thank you for the blessing. Hugs and kisses to you, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for being on this channel. Woo! Okay. Thank you to everybody who be sending these blessings to the channel. Sending blessings through the super chat, the stickers, the PayPal, the cash apps, whatever. All of them. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, okay. And who else has popped up in here? Emmanuel, hugs and kisses to you. Just creep through the back door. And thank you again, Black Lady Jane. Let's get back to it.
Whatever. So then we started looking for Gannon. One was text Albert. I don't have any of the contact numbers of anybody that was here. So when the police come out, which was not till I thought must have lost track of time, but I was just confused because he was doing the fighting challenge. We would pull him out fighting by dark because he would have to eat his dinner. He just wasn't there, so I was just so confused. Like, I know well enough to know he was going to be dinner. So that's why I didn't get worried until when it got really, really dark. Because at that point in time, I'm like, hold on. But then it was raining outside. Leaving. Wasn't sure why maybe didn't walk home, so we tried to go find him. But that's when we called the police. Well, the police showed up, which was an hour later. But they know I never left the house. So the cops came out, looked around the house, we did interviews and all of it. Because I couldn't figure out where this hiding spot was at. Because when we did this, whatever all the YouTube challenge rules, we went over, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't hide in certain spots that you can't breathe, or don't, you put yourself in a bind. And the kids had their own YouTube channel, so they did this when they went to their moms too. It almost felt like this wasn't really going on because I'm like, okay, now how in the world did you hide? And the cops have came in here. They're looking for you. They're looking through the house. They went in the car. They're like, go in the car. I gave them permission to go in the house. So if anything out of order, they walked in every room. Anything out of order, anything here, anything there. Because nothing happened. Nothing out of order. So that's when I just started being like, okay, where's this hiding spot? I thought at the time maybe it was just like a friend's house. And another friend knows that guy, kid. I think it went to that junior kid's house or whatever. So it gets dark and we're all just sitting there, like, trying to figure out what's going on. I was in a little bit of a shock because it wasn't, like, if this would have been Lena, like, who went to the person's house, go to strangers or whatever, then I'd been like, it wasn't a shock to me. But it being Gannon going to a stranger's house, that was very shocking too. So I couldn't really figure out why. So he come back out to check on me because that's when I started panicking. Albert sends the police back to check on me. That was late night, like 11. The police come back to check on me, and I'm just in a panic at that point in time. And he's like, well, we're going to put people all around the house. There was like, and this will be going on hours of searching the house. We're all upstairs because I told Harley and Lena to sleep upstairs with me because I didn't want them downstairs. I wanted them in my stuff here. But I remember going on the sofa. I don't know how long it was on the sitting sofa. I could hear knocking sounds. Well, if you ask for like the one footage of where my car just rode out the driveway and goes back in or whatever, that would have been around the time of the knocking sounds and what we did it. And that's part time we did it. So I heard the knocking sounds and I kept trying to figure out was there someone at the door because I thought they were trying to, if I had walked out to the garage to leave at some point, but then if they'd been knocking on my door, on my window, who would have known that was our bedroom window? Like, why were they trying to get me to go outside? I just kept going up and down the stairs, going in the room checking. One of the times I fell down the stairs, that's how my blood got on the stairs because I would like hit my head with socks on running downstairs or whatever. That's how my blood got on the stairs or whatever. Kept hearing knocking, I kept going and searching, I kept asking girls, they hear that. Then guy's dad came by, we're still coming during the night, like during the late night or whatever. At some point I remember laying back on the sofa and just kind of like dazing out for a while because honestly I thought this was all just like some the nightmare I was talking about. But then hear noise, I ran down the stairs. I don't know exactly how. So my handgun was inside a car. I was already like earlier, like, is this your handgun? Yes, I told him, no, be careful, there's a handgun in the car, like all that stuff. So I don't know if he had the opposition, I got possession of them. I don't know, but at some point somehow I saw come across the vision down the stairs, it's like someone's shadow. I seen a shadow going across. I ran back up the stairs, started freaking out, and then came down the stairs because there's a shadow, there's some moving object, body moving in the house or whatever. So I didn't hear anything. I heard a loud noise when I was back upstairs. If you've seen the views of the house, there was top floor, bottom floor. So I was going up and down trying to figure out where these noises were coming from. So I heard the loud noise upstairs. And his room was in my room. So when I was in my room, I heard the noise again. At some point in time, either I grabbed it from Edgar and moved like someone in a cape. Or he was there. I would have. I said I used to wear these like are you familiar? If you're familiar with like the Native American culture, they wear these like regalia things. He had this whole red and black thing. And Dad shirt killed his mom, and it was like someone in red and black. I don't even know how quickly it happened. I just kept hearing Ecclesiastes 3:3 in my head. Ecclesiastes 3:3, Ecclesiastes 3:3. I'm still, like, because obviously my stepdad, when he died, he got hit 602 feet on the car. He got hit and died. And someone ran off the road. I'm sure it was fast. But that was just like it said in my head, make it fast. Ecclesiastes 3:3. I don't know how long I transpired after that, but when I came back through, Lena was freaking out. She was just standing there. I don't know what I said to her, but then she tried to help me take Gannon upstairs, take him to the hospital. If you look at Lena's report, you'll see she talked about trying to help carry Gannon. We just had her days all running together because it was very traumatic for her too. But when we tried to take Gannon to the hospital, to the car, and go outside, I don't know how long I was sitting in my car. I just was in the passenger side. Okay. But I was in and out. One minute I could see myself in the passenger side, next minute I couldn't figure out who was driving the car. And I didn't see palm trees when we tried to pull out. And that's why I think I must have thought I was in Carolina, because there's palm trees going to the hospital. If you've ever seen a picture of like how like Rodeo Drive goes down with palm trees, that's how it looks in Carolina. Then you go down to the beach and there's Grand Strand Hospital there, which I've been to many times. That's Grand Strand. Then on, I think I was completely shocked because I was trying to like get a better life. Because if you think about it, like there's a lot that went on in the Bible where Jesus was able to Jari's his daughter, bring her back to life. Many situations where he gave his disciples the ability to bring people back to life. I know at some point in time during that, Maria felt a threat. What she does. Child molester, someone who hurts children, someone who rapes women, not to mention what was going on in the garage. That's the way she protects me. Eliminate the threat. But once me and Lena are sitting there trying to go to the hospital, like, I'm realizing, like, what is going on. Mode kicked in of the I tried to give them food. Even when at the GameStop, they tried to get the footage from GameStop. I don't know if they got it or not, but I was trying to get in the game. I already told him he was going to get it for $60. Edgar was with me during that time, but I don't know where he went during that time. Well, going back through and I was sitting in the car again on the passenger side. I go back in the house and everybody's just like, Lena's like white, like a ghost, like she's seen a ghost. Just kept telling everybody he's going to be okay, he's going to be fine, and they're just asking me questions like, where's Gannon at? He's going to be fine. I'll find him. Because I didn't, what had happened during that traumatic experience, I wasn't real to me. You gotta imagine if you were just somewhere and all of a sudden you're trying to bring somebody back to life and then now you don't know where he's at and you're telling everybody it'll be okay. Coherence, a gap. A little bit of coherency, a gap. As you can see, if you look at the evidence from then on, it just spiraled. Telling people about people out getting me. What was going on? I was trying to piece together what had really happened. You know.
I can't. I'm over here cracking up. Arlo said he needed to take a weed break. When you're dealing with this woman, you do need it. Melvius Arlo, I need a brandy shot. I can't with y'all. I really can't tonight. I can't. All right, let's get back to it. Resume.
At some point, I know it was Maria telling him about Mike was dead. That was what she would have done. Eliminated someone who the molested. So the stories that are on the evidence are all over the place because I really didn't know how to put together the pieces. I had time memories here and time lapses there, and then visions here, visions there. One minute I was in Carolina, one minute I wasn't. And I thought it was just a nightmare I was going to wake up from. I thought there was going to be cameras just pop out. Like, one horrible joke, you know.
Melly brought up a good point. Okay. Make it fast. Maybe he survived 18 stabs and 4 blows to the head, and that's why she shot him. You know, it's something to think about, Melly, because I couldn't understand why this overkill. What's going on? He probably was still alive, and she was just doing everything she can to make sure he does not live. You stab him. You hit him with a blunt object. Then you shoot him? That's something to think about. All right, ladies and gentlemen, resume. And the people that's in the bushes, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody that's engaging and hitting the like and all that good stuff. Let's get back to it.
And like word salads. Talking about this, that. We're going to Disney World and like, so I have no idea I even done that. I have no idea what I was talking about. Like, the evidence somewhere it has searched on my phone. I think it was.
No, Gigi was thinking the same thing too. He fought through it. He fought through it. Oh, now I'm getting sad. Oh, wow. Okay, this is getting sad. I mean, it's been sad, but wow, to see somebody fighting for their life like that. Oh, you going to hell in a handbasket. You are really going to hell. Resume.
February or January or something, so I'm trying to find what to do when someone gets shot and went in shock. Like, I don't remember even putting any of that stuff in any of the searches, but all of the things that had happened over my life just all in and out, doing this. And
I stopped it at 113.41 just because I thought that might be a good spot.
Okay, all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our lunch break. If I can have everyone back in the jury room a little bit before 1:30, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do your own independent research about any aspect of the case. If you go out for lunch, try not to get blown away by our
like, I would try to bring my grandpa. You know, like, everybody always thought I was just different. I hit my head. Yeah. Power. Eliminate a threat.
You know Maria pretty well.
I can like an audible conversation, but I can't listen to it. But I can have an audible conversation. Or over time, I've been able to. Incidents started happening. My grandpa used to always say, "Something's wrong with that youngin." People think country stuff. Something's always wrong with that youngin. She's always hanging out with all these people.
What did Melvia say again? I can't. Throw her on the yard and announce it on the loudspeaker. I agree with you. Oh, gosh. Throw her on the yard and announce it on the loudspeaker. Come and get her. You witch. Do that to that boy. Ooh. Oh, my gosh. All right, Melanie says here, Melvia, I'm not a fan of the DP, but I sure do wish that they would have gone after it with her. Crystal says, I agree. Let's get back to it.
And my grandma would be like, "Oh, it's just imaginary friends." She's like, "No, it was beyond imaginary friends." Be like, I would try to bring my grandpa to people. You know, like, everybody always thought I was just different. I hit my head. You know? As it kept going on, situations kept happening where like, I'd end up in a situation and like dead straight would not even know what it was. I went to the doctor in Florida about it one time, but I think they tried to give you all that information, but Dr. Bushman had deleted his feeds every 5 years or something like that. I tried to sign that form like 2 years ago, but I guess now the 5-year mark or something, I don't have it. But like, I ended up in places like that in Florida, and they're telling me at his office, and he really thinks it happened so much that finally I became to know who it was around the time here. I was not visuals for Maria. But I can see Taylor, I can see Victoria, but I can't just say it has to be an extreme emotional perspective. If you wanted to see her and talk to her, you'd have to put me in.
Did you say you can have a conversation with her meaning time or something?
Yeah, because like the people that come and see me, they've been coming up and they've been trying to figure out if I can find out why I have so much traumatic about drugs. And when I figure out why I feel the way I do about how conversation, because they wanted to feel why I feel the way I do about drugs. Because through a lot of those methods, they to talk to Maria. Was younger, my stepdad used to take me to Rainy Ray's house, which was his nephew, And during the raid, they always said he was just something was wrong with him, but he did bad drugs or whatever. So that's when she triggered things in my memory that I came back to myself and I remember taking Rainy Ray and my stepdad at a very young age to go get the guy in the car. I just did shit. So that's why I am the way I am. That plus, you know, like I'm pretty sure my mom has autism or whatever. I don't know what it was. You always wanted to switch. So
So, sorry, going back to what I was asking before. No, it's okay. You said you have an audible conversation with Maria. You also said that there are people coming to see you, I think, doing some sort of therapy with you.
yeah.
Associated with this, and that's how you talk to Maria.
No, so like it's been a couple weeks that we've been doing this, but they wanted to know why I felt that way about drugs. So, you know, when someone kind of gives you a certain small thing, like you start having those intrusive memories. Like you could not remember something, but then see something that like triggered that memory. And so as I was doing that, it triggered that memory, and that's how I could hear Maria and have the conversation with her about it. So it was part of those.
Robin L. And thank you for being here tonight. And I appreciate the beautiful words. I'm glad that you enjoy my commentary. Glad to have you a part of Donna Just Being Real. All right. Oh, and who else has creeped through the back door too? Robin creeped through the back door, and we have Deb just creeped through the back door too. She sure has a lot of details from what happened to be insane. Oh yeah. Okay, here we go again. Francine again. Thank you. Oh yeah, we need some drinks over here, don't we? And thank you, Francine. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. And I repeat again, make sure people email me so I can get your email address for that movie night. And like I said, it'll be most likely on the 21st. And that's for everybody. Males too. Okay? You too. It's all learning. This is a teaching, learning channel. So I want everybody there as much as possible. All right, let's get back to it.
Is it doing these methods with you?
Whoever might have offered.
All right. Well, I'm wondering, or when you even have an audible conversation with Maria, and the question now, if you can tell Maria, you know, what she was thinking and what she was.
Essentially, if you bring it up like traumatic stuff, I can take myself into the harmony, which in depth, what any kind of abuse is like. It's very hard because that's the only way you get it like extreme. So like, well, the surroundings like, what it feels like, and I've had to do that once in this process, and it's very difficult because, you know, for the other person having to hear it, you know, I go back and read their, you know, the report of what they typed about what I said in harmony, and it's very disturbing. So yeah, so it.
I definitely don't want to take you back to your childhood. I'm just wondering about, you know, at the time, the alleged defense.
Oh, future
where, you know, for you, the memory gets fuzzy,
right,
between, you know, you're looking for getting, you're thinking someone's going to have you see the shadow. You're having kind of that repeated thought of Ecclesiastes 33, time to kill, time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing you sort of remember is being in the car. And on some level, it sounds like your perspective is an assumption Maria took over at that point in time. And that Maria is your protector. She comes up in these situations where there's a threat. So I'm wondering, you know.
Can you talk to Maria through me is what you're after?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you just said it that way. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You said it a lot clearer than I did.
Yeah. How we got it to work before was I had to just kind of with my mindset, like, I'm conditioned to hang out like that. So, like, I have to take my mind to hang out in those reliving it, you know what I mean? And then that's how I can do it.
I guess I'm wondering why Maria might have moved away.
I don't think you guys have any of the stuff, because like how we did it before, if we had like the evidence she's been on. And having that. Would have to have something. For me to switch or trigger me, like going into that thought process or to, it's not really daydreaming, but just. We have to have something in order to do that in order to hear. Can't just be like, okay, with the phone.
Like,
Yeah.
any other questions about it?
I'm still a little unclear about these gaps. You can't remember, is that when?
Usually when I can't remember or when there's a blur around me, like let's say I would be in one of those states right now. You guys could be in here and I never even know you're in here. Move around would not be the same. You know what I mean? So during the time, so okay, let me point to you from how it started. When I would get abused, sexually abused by my stepdad, I started noticing Letecia, but then I didn't want Letecia. So if I trained my brain to go somewhere else and let harm me get abused. So that way, if anyone, like when the counselors and stuff like that at school would ask, you know, like, hey, Letecia, have you been abused? I always kind of like, no, because harm is the person that was abused. So, back to what you were asking, that's why those gaps come into play, because I can take myself to those worlds. Like, when one of the worlds is Christina, and how Christina works is when I was younger, my mom used to leave me by myself, take care of the kids, and she would try to leave my stepdad a bit. But then she'd leave us by herself with the slaves. And I would be taking care of kids while she was on his house. So that's how Christina came along. She's a gymnast. So like if I have a gap or I go somewhere, when I was a child, I go to Christina because that was during the time of the Olympics, the 1996 Olympic Games. Everything in my house became like a gymnasium and apparatus. So everything around me was like that. Not like crazy stuff where people be like, oh, there's natives. It's just that the surroundings are like that, where, you know, my body gets put in the surroundings. And that's how I had. So that's why whenever there's a gap in it, I went to this place and done something else. Or I make a mess of things if I deal with the trauma. Nothing sure. I didn't do that. I couldn't have been a teacher. I couldn't have gone my degree. I couldn't have done a lot of things because of how I deal with someone. It goes on into my adulthood. It doesn't stop at my childhood, you know. Right there because I'm in a condition to move out there. Something else might be going on in that world. It's not like I just am driving on the road and I'm like, oh, over here. That would be dangerous. It's not like that. If something happens that causes me not to want to deal with it, then I can switch to it. But the thing about Maria is I cannot just switch to her right now. It has to be in a form of protection, or it has to be in a form of like getting me out of it. So like the other day at the jail, I think the other day, I don't know. I ended up in a total sleep. I didn't know how I ended up in a total sleep, right? And so I'm trying to let you see how that gap works. I remember being on the phone, getting ready to dial a number, and I heard them say, hey, you have to leave at 9 because they have some construction going on at the jail, right? So they took us out of our ward, and so I couldn't go to the tower, so I have to out of segregation until the board finished. You know? So I remember hearing them say cell 9. Well, cell 9 is where I developed Janelle, because so much trauma in segregation. That's where I developed Janelle. Well, that was the last thing I remember. Then next thing I know, I ended up at SC, and SC was because I was a maternal student, and they said I was trying to hurt myself. So I kind of put it all together. I'm like, why was I trying to hurt myself? But what happened was the trigger from so 9 brought back those memories of the fact that I was going to have to be able to survive in segregation right now, meaning, no book, no radio, no food, nothing, started us, all that, because there's instructions that apparently I called my friend Amy, Maria. I called my friend and she was talking in another language. And during that time, they said that I went upstairs at my body, Maria, and the deputy gave me a play-by-play. Deputy Lee said that she was watching from another camera. She said that Maria looks this way, looks that way, and then tries to jump off. So you know how the jail, they have the rails, and there's like rails like this, tries to jump through the rails. But once I was able to come later on, piece everything back together. Maria had called my friend, she was talking another language, and then she tried to rescue me. How she tried to rescue me was, she wasn't trying to kill me. She was trying to bungee jump off. Because in her mind, I was jumping off. But I am the one that ended up in the truck. So then I had to go through the whole protocol of why are you going to hurt yourself? So the deputy, when she came, Deputy Browder came to SD, is when I came back through. She said I was talking to her first, as Maria, but then she was like, when I came back to myself as Letecia, she said, you were just Maria. And then I was like, why did I turn on to? But then once I got everything back together, you could be together. So answering the question, what you just said, that's how it works. So the only way I'm left to piece stuff back together is the evidence stuff, or okay, well, this has got to be clearly you on the camera, and I see myself. Okay, yeah, that's clearly me on the camera. Looking at it, that's me. I don't know that's fair, That's kind of how I don't know if you understand what I say about looking at gaps, but it's not like I'm just hey, I don't remember. It's I'm not there.
So, when you find yourself in Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
who gets you there?
Well, I found out through this, is that fire? Oh my God.
I will bet you large money to drill.
Mm-hmm.
As one friend of mine used to say, I'll bet all of your money and some of mine.
Okay.
Where was I? Okay, yeah, so you find yourself in Orlando. How did we get there?
All right. Try not to focus on it.
That's distracting.
Well, no, I'm telling you, it's just crazy because I told you how to throw my fires. So what I learned from about this investigation is that at least they found different things where that she met me before and I was all 3. Someone else met me and I was Kaya. So there are personalities that I'm aware of. Because one of the reports they were asking about was the FBI was talking to her and she always knew you at Albany. I'm like, what do you think about that? So I think that must be one of the person that wasn't Taylor. That's not me, the teaching it, so it just has to be one of the ones I either don't know about or here I just stayed out for minutes and hours because obviously a plane ride from Colorado.
Great question, Dad. And I heard, I don't know if it's so true, so don't quote me on it, that he does. All right, let's see what Melanie says. I've heard in both ways. I hope she's back with her mama. And I also heard that possibility we don't know for sure, and I want to look that up to find out that the daughter is with the father, but not too sure. So we don't know for sure, but that's a very good question. That's something I want to find out too. I hope she's back with her mom. Exactly. Me too. All right, Melanie says here, I do know that there was one heck of a custody battle after Gannon's death. Why should it even be a battle? It shouldn't even be a battle. The child was with you. You supposed to be the better parents, that you supposed to know everything about the child. You supposed to protect and provide for the child. And you did a horrible job because the child is dead right now. If I was a judge, wouldn't be no problem. You going back with your mother. And why were you so much, Al? Oh gosh, I'm trying not to go off tonight. But Al, why did you think that this woman was a better fit for your son? You so busy at work. You just run around and work in the military. You know, you just trying to get your ranks, kissing up to everybody in the military. You didn't have time for your son. Not saying you didn't love your son. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that he wanted his son dead. No, I'm not saying that. But you didn't have time. So you just dump it all on Letecia. Oh, Letecia, you take care of it. You do this, blah, 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 blah. When she signed up to be with you, she looked at you as some sort of money bag. Yep, she thought she was a money bag. She didn't sign up to be no mother to your kids. Her daughter was old enough, so she kind of fend for herself. She wouldn't be bothered, because I personally feel that she didn't even want no kids. Her daughter was a accident. It is what it is. She didn't want no kids. That's why she ain't had no kids with you. But you only known her for 4 months. You married her, right, Al? You thought it was the best. And you're going to keep your children away from the mother, right? Because you thought she was much better. Then, when you found your son missing, you're going to sit there and accuse your ex-wife and the guy that she's with, that possibility maybe he did it. Is this how we do, Al? This is how we do. This is so sad. This boy was, he was raised around, and your sister too, around a lot of toxic, selfish people. Yeah, I said it. Everybody around them was toxic and selfish. They all thought about themselves. They did not put their children before them. No, they didn't. Because if they did, this boy would be alive right now. Yep, he'd be alive. So everybody's all boo-hoo, hoo-hoo, all sad and stuff like that. But, you know, you need to think about, what did you do? Yeah, Al, what did you do? You the man. You should have protected this boy. Because I know Satan's daughter had to come to you a few times and saying, oh, this is so much. Watching the kids, I can't be bothered. Because you see, as we're watching the trial, we can tell she talks a lot. What did I always say about these narcissists and sociopaths? And I've been saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, several times. They will eventually throw themselves under the bus. So there had to have been signs that she have said, I don't want to be bothered, blah, 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 blah. And your son probably came to you and said, my stepmommy a little mean. You didn't listen. You're so busy at work. So busy at work and keeping the children away from the biological mother. I'm just saying, these are all my thoughts and opinions. I could be completely wrong. But I know on trial, it's not about that, you know. But we have to bring it up here in this channel. Why? Because this is a learning, teaching channel, so we have to see the red flags. We have to go beyond the surface. We have to go beyond that. But this boy should be alive right now. This boy should be able to graduate from school, learn how to drive, have his first girlfriend, go to prom, go to college, get married, and have children of his own. But all that was taken away from him because of Satan's daughter and the people around him that didn't protect him. There's too many red flags in here. So many things could have been prevented. Yeah, I said it. Yep, I said it. You know, I do these crime stories and I do a lot. And I see a lot of stuff that could have been prevented. I mean, you got a woman. She met this guy who just got out of jail for domestic violence or for robbery, you know, some sort of violent crime. She dates him. He tells her, Queen, you're so special. You mean so much to me. And she lets him move in her home with her children. And he kills her and the children. Yep. He had a criminal record. Why was he in your house? You only known him for what? A couple of weeks. Oh, the wood was so good, Donna. You don't understand. It's about the wood. Oh, it's about the wood? See what I'm saying? And vice versa with the men. Yeah, I said it. Yep, I said it. Thank you, Black Lady Jane. All right, what's Melly had to say? But then again, he remarried quite quickly, so he found himself a new nanny. Married quickly. But the way that I hear that they met because of, going through that group, well, you have like groups for like alcoholism, drugs, sex addiction, whatever it is. But I just want to, they both lost somebody. So it's woman he met. But it is kind of quick when you kind of think about it. It's kind of quick. We'll see what happens. And I always say the way when in dating relationships, the way you met a person is usually how the way it's going to end. It's very important how you met the person. When you met a person and everything goes so quick and y'all have a sex on the first night so quick, saying the I love you so quick. How do you love a person so quick after 3 or 4 dates? You might be interested in the person. I'm attracted to the person. I'm intrigued by the person. But in love with the person? Nah, I don't think so. It's more of lust. Yep, it's more of lust. All right, let's get back to it. All right, Nell Gigi said, right, Melanie. New nanny. Donna, the defense will bring in her STDs and abortions as evidence of DID on this video. Do I need to fast forward? So, Melanie, because I was going to wrap it up a little bit, but I want to get into that one because I didn't see the ending of this. All right, so should I fast forward some so we can get to that one? You said the defense. Yeah, maybe I could. Okay, you said the defense is going to go there. So we could do that. You know what? We're going to fast forward. Let me see where we at. Okay. You said defense. Oh, there go defense. Wait a minute. Let's get into the defense. Oh. All right. Let's hear this part, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And I'm going to put the speed on 1.5. Yeah, let's hear what the defense have to say. I hope I'm on point here. Oh, okay. Melly tell me yes, I am. All right. Deb says something. Al has to live with this for the rest of his life. Yes, he do. And if I was a biological mother, you're going to live with the rest of life and your pockets too. Because I'm suing you. I'm taking you down, and I will be taking down Harley too. I'm taking them both down. Because you fought me, taking the kids away from me because you was a better fit parent, and she was a better mother than me. Oh yeah, you going down. And that little hussy, whatever, that mini me of her in the house, oh, she going down too. Harley, yeah, that's right. That's what I would do. These are my thoughts and opinions. Resume.
Of reality that would make it so that she was incapable of forming judgments or thinking things through. Even in her own words, at least as it pertains to the shooting, Ms. Stauch talks about how she thought that there was an intruder in the home. She reaches for a gun. She hears these words, Ecclesiastes 3:3, time to kill, time to heal. All of that suggests that there is some capacity to form some intent. She's not lacking in that.
I think you answered this question already, but knowing me, I'm going to ask it anyway. The diagnosis of other specified personality disorder with borderline and narcissistic traits, does that raise to the level of a mental disease or defect?
It is not in this case.
Ultimately, what is your final opinion, along with Dr. Gray, with regards to the defendant's sanity at the time that Gannon Stauch was killed?
It was that Ms. Stauch was sane at the time of the crime.
And did Dr. Gray sign the report, this 22-page report that you both authored?
He did.
And obviously you signed it as well?
Yes.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thanks.
Cross-examination.
Great point, Melvia. Great point.
Dr. Torres, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I want to kind of first just clear up some procedural history on this case, so I think that everybody has a little bit better understanding of how some of this stuff occurred. You're aware that myself and Mr. Cook are not Ms. Stauch's first set of attorneys.
Correct.
She had a different set of attorneys for a little over a year,
Yes.
and those were the ones who were actually involved with the first competency evaluations.
Yes.
And then at some point in time, Ms. Stauch was pro se.
I feel like I vaguely remember that.
Okay, and are you aware that when somebody is pro se, they would be given all of the discovery and access to the body worn camera and everything else for the period of time that they were representing themselves?
Yes.
And so there wasn't the fact that she had reviewed all the stuff and had access. There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree.
Okay. And then at some point, I think it was May of 2021, myself and Mr. Cook took over the representation of Ms. Stauch.
Yes.
And when the statute, the not guilty by reason of insanity statute in Colorado, is kind of designed for a flow of information from you to me and me to you and the district attorney, is trying to get everybody as much information as possible.
Yes.
And generally, when you guys, if there was something that came up in one of these interviews, sometimes then you would either email me or call me and say, can you get this type of documentation that we're looking for?
Yes.
And there was efforts. I mean, there was efforts. We tried, when you guys asked for stuff, we tried to get it to you.
I agree with that.
Okay. And there was cooperation by the defense and the prosecutions. Everybody cooperated to try to get you guys as much information as possible.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. And just to be clear, you don't judge differently information given by the defense than information by the prosecution. And what I mean by that is you were given reports written by my social worker regarding interviews that were done in South Carolina.
Yes.
You don't necessarily disregard that or give that less weight or reliability or credibility than you would necessarily with police reports.
Correct.
The social worker is a professional person, and a professional person you would assume is going to try to give you accurate information.
Yes.
And kind of, on that train of thought, is there concern by forensic evaluators at the state hospital regarding implicit bias?
Could you say more?
Well, and I'm asking this, and I'm doing it, not making any accusations or disparaging or anything. I'm just exploring the implicit bias. You would agree with me that things are difficult at the state hospital right now, as far as staffing, bed space, and so forth.
Okay. Yes, it's having its difficulties.
Okay. The state hospital is actually currently under a contempt order by a federal judge.
Yes.
And that's in regards to competency.
Yes.
And that's in regards to that the state hospital had been taking too long to get competency evaluations done for people that are in custody.
Yes.
And it puts a strain on the state hospital.
I would say yes.
Okay. And there's actually a significant backlog for people who are in custody in jails to get into the competency evaluations completed at the state hospital.
That remains true.
Okay. And if Ms. Stauch was to be found not guilty by reason of insanity, she would more than likely be housed at the state hospital.
Yes.
And if she was housed at the state hospital, she would take up resources at the state hospital.
I can see what you're trying to say. And I would say that doesn't go into the analysis of a sanity evaluator. And to the best of my understanding, the beds that they have set aside for individuals who are adjudicated not guilty by reason of insanity is separate from those that they have for people who need competency restoration treatment.
No, and I understand that as well. But as far as one of the issues at the state hospital is a lack of staff, is as far as like forensic nurses, other forensic types of staff, that's difficult at the state hospital right now, correct?
They are having that problem, yes.
And wouldn't somebody who, regardless of the bed space, if they were on, you're adding an extra person who has been adjudicated not guilty by reason of insanity, isn't that person going to take some resources away as far as staff?
I could see that, but again, as an evaluator, that's never something that we're considering.
I know, and I understand that. And I understand the professionalism of both you and Dr. Gray. But is there, I guess that's my question, is there any concern that there could be implicit bias? So a bias that you're maybe not even aware of that could affect an evaluation?
I don't think that there is an implicit bias in the way that you are describing it here. Obviously, biases are a thing, and we do our best to check our biases as often as we can.
Okay. And like I said, I wasn't meaning that in a disrespectful way. I was just asking questions regarding it. So thank you. Let's talk a little bit about, first start with disassociation, and then we'll kind of move on to dissociative identity disorder.
Okay.
Have you ever actually treated anybody who had dissociative identity disorder?
I have never treated anybody with dissociative identity disorder.
Have you ever diagnosed anybody with dissociative identity disorder?
Not yet.
Okay. And so then when you are,
Oh, I'm sorry, Robin. You probably had came in later. When I do these recaps, I usually put on faster speed. So the speed is on 1.5. If you need to slow it down, you can slow it down on your end. But I usually do it faster because due to the fact that these trials are forever long. So if I put on regular speed, we'd be here forever. So it's like the recap. So that's why I put on the 1.5. But when she was talking, Satan's daughter, I had on 1.25, but now it's on 1.5. Sorry about that. And thank you for being here. Reason.
presented with something that you may not have a ton of personal experience with. What both you and Dr. Gray will do is you'll go to literature to see, you know, what is this a social identity disorder? How does this look? How does this present? And you will use that in making your evaluation.
Correct.
And that's what you guys did here.
It is.
And you guys were actually kind enough. We had email exchange. I gave you guys some articles on dissociative identity disorder, and you guys gave me some articles and everything as well that ended up actually a very lengthy book on dissociative identity disorder that you guys, you know, used to make this diagnosis and determination of Ms. Stauch.
Yes.
And so as far as disassociation, it's kind of a tricky term, isn't it? I mean, as far as what exactly it is, there's some differing standards, especially in the book that you guys gave me, as far as what exactly disassociation is and when it occurs and what causes it.
That's one of the issues of the controversy around dissociation and dissociative identity disorders.
Well, and let's talk, I mean, historically, it's been somewhat of a controversial diagnosis.
Yes.
You know, it goes, I think initially there's diagnosis of it all the way back, you know, late 1800s, there was diagnosis of it. It was kind of there and thought of a lot. And then it kind of, as we started learning more about the brain and how the brain chemically works and everything like that, it kind of fell out of favor. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's fair to say.
And then we had, you know, kind of pop back up again in the 80s and the media and the movie Sybil, which everybody watched as a kid, or at least I did. And it was kind of in the forefront nationally, but still there was a lot of controversy regarding it amongst the mental health community.
Yes.
But it would also be fair to say that in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a lot of scientific study and data that has come forth to kind of confirm that dissociation actually occurs and is a real and actual phenomenon.
I think that that's fair to say.
Okay. And while the exact definition of what occurs off, it's more or less, it's an altered state of consciousness.
Dissociation?
Yes.
Yes.
And it can be anything from, I'm like I do almost every night for the last month and a half. When the day is done, I get in my car and I leave my office and all of a sudden I'm home and I have no memory whatsoever of the drive. That's kind of a dissociation, isn't it?
Yeah, they describe that as a normal,
Yeah.
non-pathological type of dissociation that anyone can experience.
And that kind of gets me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Disassociation, some of the literature and everything kind of breaks it down between adaptive and maladaptive disassociation.
Okay.
And adaptive disassociation could be when disassociation is positive and helps a person, you know, in their day-to-day life, and it's useful for them.
I feel less familiar with the research that makes this particular separation, but I am following you.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as the altered state of consciousness and disassociation, I mean, to some degree, and kind of personas. I mean, and some of it uses personas and disassociation a little interchangeably, but oftentimes people have different personas, and it's adaptive. For example, we talked about this with Dr. Grimmett, when I come into court, I've got a tie, I speak differently than I do with my children. And once I come into the doors and everybody's here, I don't have to think like a lawyer. I take on the persona of a lawyer. And that's a different persona that I have with my children.
Sure. We all tend to behave differently depending upon our context.
Yes. And kind of the theory or the thing with dissociative identity disorder is amplified to a degree that's become non-adaptive or maladaptive, that the person has different personas within them, but they don't have the authority or ability to control the shifting between the two of them, and they're much more pronounced as far as the differences between the personas.
I think that is a fairly accurate description of one of the criteria of dissociative identity disorder.
And again, for it to be a disorder, it would indicate that it's impacting my life. And so by just calling it a disorder would indicate that I don't have the ability to control it.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that you're using as far as whether or not somebody has that disorder or not. Being able to control it would be much more like me. I'm a lawyer here, and then when I go play with my kids, then I'm not serious. I laugh. I do stuff.
Right. It becomes a conscious decision, so to speak. And as well as with the idea of it being a disorder, that would suggest that it has to have some sort of impairment in your functioning. So is it impairing your relationships, your ability to work, your ability to have an education, some other part of your life?
And also a disassociation can affect how memories are stored.
Yes.
And to some degree, would you agree with me that happens, that can be adaptive and that can happen with normal people? For example, a soldier who is in war and has experienced trauma in that. So they have their soldier kind of persona, and then they come home, they're on leave, everything up with the family, they'll have a different persona.
Yes.
And they may try to disassociate the memories of those traumas and keep those trauma memories over here while they're at home interacting with their family.
Like just trying not to think about it.
Yes. And trying to keep, and it's easier because that memory, and this is part of the theory of disassociation, because that memory was stored when I was in my soldier persona, it's a little bit easier to keep it over there when I'm in my other persona.
Okay.
Then have you seen some literature that reflects that?
Again, I haven't specifically read anything that outlines it in that matter, but I'm following you, and I believe that is something that can happen.
Can happen, and that would be adaptive.
Yes.
And people you're exposed to a lot of secondary trauma in your job.
Yes.
They're exposed to a lot of secondary trauma in their job. I'm exposed to secondary trauma. And keeping that memory at bay when I'm at home with my children may be an adaptive semi-form of disassociation.
I don't know that I would use that term. And at the same time, I think that is something that we all naturally do.
And again, then part of the theory when we go to dissociative identity disorder is those memories are stored with the other persona and they don't necessarily have access to it.
Sometimes, yes.
I mean, and that's kind of in the theory and kind of going into that, into how dissociative identity disorder is informed or caused. I mean, the literature is pretty much in agreement. It's almost, as far as dissociative identity disorder, is almost always and exclusively caused by childhood trauma.
There is a very high correlation with that.
And generally, it's not just one instance of childhood trauma. It is complex or long-standing childhood trauma.
I think it either has to be fairly severe, it can be prolonged, and everybody responds differently to the issue of trauma.
Sure. And I guess that's actually a good point. Not everybody who suffers childhood trauma, not everybody who suffers complex childhood trauma develops dissociative identity disorder.
Correct.
And what are the different types of factors that would cause somebody who suffered complex childhood trauma to develop dissociative identity disorder?
Some of the factors are going to be related specifically to that person's personality, how sensitive they are to issues of trauma. Some of them might even be related to the context or environment in which they are raised and whether they have support in place to help them deal with trauma versus not having that.
Especially the lengthy book that you gave me, a lot of it, sometimes it talked about how dissociative identity disorder can be connected or can kind of grow through attachment, especially disorganized attachment.
Yes, it is, again, correlated with that type of attachment style.
And it just, what is disorganized attachment?
Disorganized attachment, I'm going to take a step back from that question. It's a much lengthier response. There's different attachment styles. All of us have some sort of attachment style. There's healthy attachment styles, and there's less healthy attachment styles. Secure attachment, that is when essentially you've been raised in a family, you've learned to trust your caregivers. I would also go ahead and say that attachment is something that forms when you are very young, probably within that first year or two of life. So there's secure attachment, whenever you have learned to trust your caregivers, that they will be there for support. And for the most part, relationally growing up, you don't tend to have too many difficulties as it relates to attaching to a romantic partner. And then there's less healthy forms of attachment. We'll just go straight to disorganized attachment. I think they also call it ambivalent avoidant attachment. Essentially, whenever somebody is raised in an environment, and again, thinking you're very young when this happens or when this forms, where things are inconsistent, you yourself have some sort of confusion in terms of whether you can trust a caregiver or not. When we're considering issues of abuse when you are very young, it can result in problems in attachment style. This can affect your relationships in the future. Disorganized attachment or ambivalent avoidant, it's when, or is it anxious avoidant? Anyways,
I think it's anxious.
Yeah, thank you. It is anxious avoidant. There is ambivalent attachment, but we won't get into that. Anxious avoidant is when you feel like you need that security, you want it, but you're not sure that it's there. So you might also be semi-avoidant to trust individuals. You see this in the push-pull that you sometimes see in relationships with people who do go on to develop a borderline personality disorder. And even in a dissociative identity disorder, as we've noted, that attachment style can be present.
Okay. And would this be an okay place for a break?
Sure, call it.
I would, because I was going to play a video, but I got to get that hooked up.
All right,
So if we could do that, that would be great.
It'll work. You can make it work.
Thank
All
you.
right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our afternoon break. If we can have everyone back in the jury room at say 3:20, we should be able to start on time at that point. Don't discuss the case among yourself. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. And with that, we'll see you at 3:20. All rise for the jury, please.
And I'll show it to you here on break. It's a,
We're gonna show them some of that clip.
yeah, it's from 3:24.
You can do it on this one if you want.
You
You
can
can
just
look it up.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
I don't have the exact, well, actually I do. It's 3:24.
What day and what clip?
It's March 21st. at 3420.
Why
Why I play it all?
Yeah, just so.
Yeah, because no, that's why.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. We'll be back at 3:20.
That's good. Just before you go ahead.
What time, Your Honor?
3:20, 3:20.
I got in trouble because he got demoted from tax sergeant to staff sheriff because he hit my mom. It's like that. What the community is, so beating people with sticks and make you go get your own switches and stuff like that. It's common, you know what I mean? Now, the part about putting me in the closet all the time, that's like the extreme because that's not part of the spirit of for a child. I think to keep me from finding out what I said that was doing. And my mom, sorry, it was like abuse and stuff. That was going to keep me from, when they knew I was smart enough to figure it out.
You ever see your stepdad? That your mom, or your other.
So when he got demoted from tax sergeant to staff sergeant, that was when we were living on the base. That I call him military police 911. I got in trouble because he got demoted from tax sergeant to staff sheriff because he hit my mom and she went across the kitchen table and busted her head open and an ambulance had to come to the base. I was always told that was my fault, that he lost money because he got demoted. We were on base, and they told us, like, my mom would be like, oh, so, like, you know how bases are by rank, like the different houses you can live in. So we had to move into a smaller house because he got demoted, and, like, everything was my fault for calling 911 for it. That was the first time that, like, I really remember vividly, like, how the abuse was, and then it only got worse and we went back. There would be consistent fights, consistent blood, consistent sleeping in cars, running from him. His own family wouldn't even, like, when he was like that, wouldn't even come over there. And, like, my stepsister Amy, who lived, like, adjacent to the house with her grandma, she wouldn't stay with us on weekends because she knew how bad it was. Like, everyone knew. No one wanted to, like, basically, I used to stay across the street because with the community, you know, they didn't want to come over there because he'd get so bad.
And so she's basically describing an incident where her stepdad hit her mother so hard she was knocked unconscious and busted her head open. She called the police. The police came, and then her stepdad, because he was in the military, was demoted, and the family suffered. They had to go to a smaller house and lost income, correct?
Yes.
And that incident was documented both by Aunt Brenda and by her mother actually confirmed that incident took place.
Yeah, I remember her aunt, because we spoke specifically with her aunt, largely corroborated that there was abuse going on in the home.
And that specific instance in the reports done by Mr. Marble, that was given to, and the mom admitted that occurred.
I don't specifically remember that simply because I don't remember every single detail.
Sure. I could approach. Okay. I'm approaching you with the report from the social worker that we provided to you.
Thank you. Yes, it does summarize that.
Okay, first, you got the minute. Go ahead. And then in other parts of that interview that you did with Ms. Stauch, she talks about James sexually molesting her and that she would go to her mother to try to say, you know, he's doing this, intervene, help. And that what she relayed to you is that her mother wouldn't do it because last time we got the police involved, the family suffered financially.
Yes.
And as far as the impact that would have on a child could be substantial as far as trauma.
I think it counts as trauma. Yes.
And and not only the sexual molestation being the trauma, but then the rejection by the primary caregiver of protecting.
Yes.
And again, just for the record, the book that I keep referring to is Disassociation and the Dissociative Disorders, Past, Present, and Future. It talks about the correlation between children who suffer childhood trauma and the ones that develop dissociative identity disorder. And it talks about one of the issues that there is a significant correlation is betrayal.
I don't remember that specifically.
Okay. And betrayal, it could be, but this is that type of instance that you have a step parent or something who is committing the act, and then the child goes to the caregiver to try to get help, to get safety, to get this stopped, and they refuse to intervene. That
I think all of that can be subsumed under emotional trauma.
emotional trauma. And kind of when we're talking about the phenomena of dissociative identity disorder, this would be the type of thing that could cause it in a child who still, I mean, she's describing the sexual trauma starts 9 and continues on until she leaves home.
Yes.
And so a 9-year-old child still needs their mom. They still even need, the stepdad for food, shelter, and kind of how it went back to attachment. Children need emotional support as well. And so they need that attachment from their caregivers, correct?
Yes.
And the theory behind dissociative identity disorder is, especially when the other primary caregiver is not intervening, the child has to make a split. And the abuse memories, the emotional trauma goes in one personality, and those memories are shielded from the other personality, who can then go to the mom, go to the stepdad for food, shelter, and emotional support.
That is the theory around how dissociative identity disorder can come to be from issues of trauma.
Okay. And both the reports that we gave you and your interview with Aunt Brenda describe a very turbulent upbringing.
I agree.
I mean, it seemed James was a very violent and abusive alcoholic.
Yes.
And while there was no direct
I had stepped away. I'm putting it back to 1.5. I just did on 1.25 when she was talking. But we're going back to 1.5, ladies and gentlemen. Resume.
corroboration of the molestation, would you agree with me that James seemed to engage in conduct that would at least raise concerns regarding molestation?
We're not negating
Okay.
the abuse that Ms. Stauch says that she experienced when she was young.
And there is some comorbidity between pedophiles and substance abuse in the DSM-5.
I'd have to read the DSM-5, and I would say that there's comorbidity with substance use
And
with a
decided-
lot of disorders.
Sure. And also when you talk about, one of the things when you look for molestation is somebody who crosses boundaries can be a concern.
Crossing boundaries, yes.
And there was documentation that Aunt Brenda talked about this, and I believe with you, of James would often walk around in his underwear with the kids present.
She mentioned that, yes.
And James giving her, after Miss Stauch had moved out, giving her younger siblings alcohol to the point that they passed out.
That detail I don't remember.
That could be a concern as far as somebody crossing boundaries in regards to molestation.
It's certainly a concern about
Yeah.
parenting behavior.
Sure. It's somebody who has dissociative. Well, let me rephrase this. The theory and the literature seem the theory and the literature supports that dissociative identity disorder is a defense mechanism, is primarily a defense mechanism dealing with substantial childhood trauma.
Yes.
And kind of in that vein, and I think you were, stating this in regards to some of the questions Mr. Young had, because it's kind of a defense mechanism, and it's impacting, a child when they were growing up and everything like that. And every child is different, and the trauma is different, and everything like that. It often presents itself differently in different people.
Yes.
Sometimes it can be very subtle, and sometimes it can be more pronounced.
Correct.
And there's lots of theories, but nothing really definitive for an explanation as to what causes severe, substantial DID and what causes minor DID, or what causes a child who could suffer this horrible type of trauma and seem to relatively function okay, and another child who could experience this type of trauma and be an absolute mess.
Correct. There's no consensus.
There's no, and that's with a lot of psychiatry. It's not, I don't want to say not an exact science, but there's a lot of nuance to it because it's how different people's brains develop and how they react to different factors.
Correct.
There is some differences amongst how much memory would be shared between different personas.
Yes.
And there are differences between how aware, and for lack of a better word, I'm going to use the term host persona, how much awareness they would have of the other personas. There appear to be differences between different people with DID.
Yes.
And how much memory would be shared between, and again, I'm going to refer to a host persona and memories that were encoded in other personas. How much of that is shared? It appears to vary between individuals who suffer from this disorder.
Yes.
And there's lots of things that we look at in determining if somebody has the DID. And obviously, one of the main things that we would look at initially is, was there childhood trauma? Because it almost seems you don't get DID unless there's childhood trauma. Would you agree with that? That would be one criteria. Okay.
It's not a defined criteria for dissociative identity disorder. However, given that there is such a large correlation between the two, you would expect one to be present for the other to also be present.
And I've seen different literature as far as the occurrence of dissociative identity disorder, anywhere between 1.5% of the population all the way up to possibly even 6% of the population.
I think I've seen similar numbers, and it tends to be based off of different countries,
Sure.
or potentially even, I want to say, one substance use treatment center where possibly it was more present.
And in fairness, the 6% estimation seems to be more of an outlier.
I think so. More generally, I've seen about 1%, maybe 1 to 2%.
But yeah, any 1.5, 2%, that is more consistent in the literature than the 6% outlier.
Correct.
Generally, and I think this is one of the things that you talked about with Ms. Young, and one of the things, here, for the most part, its appearance and presentation is more subtle than we would, appear, that we see in the movies and so forth.
That is the more typical presentation of it.
Oftentimes people who are eventually end up being diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, oftentimes they will be in mental health treatment for between 6 to 12 years before they are accurately diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder.
I read that.
And oftentimes they'll have a lot of misdiagnoses. I think some of the literature says 3 to 4 incorrect diagnoses before they're correctly diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder.
I certainly think that can likely happen depending upon how much information is available to whomever is providing the treatment and how consistent the treatment is.
And would you then agree with me that asking people who've only maybe missed out for an hour and had an hour-long interaction or a shorter period of time, if they notice drastic changes in her personality, would not necessarily be that helpful in determining whether or not she legitimately suffered from DID or not?
I think it would be really difficult to diagnose it in about an hour without any other indication that it might be present.
And would you agree it would be kind of misleading to suggest that somebody in an hour-long conversation would notice somebody with DID?
Just off of observations, I think it's unlikely to happen.
Okay. The DSM-5 indicates that one of the conditions that people with DID will initially seek treatment for is obsessive compulsive disorder.
I don't specifically remember reading that in the DSM. It also wouldn't surprise me that people might seek treatment for issues of depression or anxiety.
And the records that we have given you, they definitely document that since 2016, Ms. Stauch had been seeking treatment for anxiety.
Yes.
And we do have records from 2013. We don't have specifically, but there appears to be billing in those records that she was seeking mental health treatment since 2013. Well, we don't know exactly what that treatment did.
Correct.
One of the things that correlates or is often seen in people with dissociative identity disorder is suicide attempts.
You do see that.
Ms. Stauch talked about being in a turtle suit.
When she was at the jail?
Turtle suits at the jail you're aware of put on people who have attempted suicide.
Yes.
One of the things that you will see in people with dissociative identity disorder oftentimes is a sporadic work history.
Yes, you do see that.
And in some of his interviews that you have reviewed of Mr. Stauch, talked about Mrs. Stauch's sporadic work history.
Yeah, and I would agree that it was spotty. I think she noted to us that her longest period of work was approximately 6 years, maybe when she was in her mid-20s to early 30s, and that she didn't work for a period of time specifically associated with taking care of the children. Other than that, there's a little bit of jumping around from one job to another in the later years.
Some of the literature notes that sexual promiscuity can be present with people with DID, but that they actually don't enjoy it.
I don't remember that specifically.
I submitted an article, Dissociative Identity Disorder, a Controversial Diagnosis, by Dr. Paulette Gillig, if I could approach with it.
Sure.
Still him. I can give you another copy of it. Oh, you got a copy? Yeah. This one. Take this one. This one. Let me approach.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
And so you had a chance to. These are some of the articles that I sent to you, both yourself and Dr. Gray.
This one does not look familiar. And I printed out the 8 articles you sent me and read 6 of the 8.
And with this article, however, does it appear to you to be the type of peer-reviewed journal that would be relied upon people in your profession?
I'm not sure if this is a peer-reviewed journal or more of a newsletter. I'm not 100% familiar with it.
Okay, if you go to page 28 of that article, it has references.
It does have references.
It appears to have over 43 references.
It does.
This article, if you go to page 27 of that article, in regards to making the diagnosis a clinical description.
Okay.
If you go about so if you go about halfway down on that, it says patients who have been diagnosed with DID frequently report chronic suicidal feelings in some attempts.
Yes.
And that would be consistent with other literature that you've seen.
Yes.
Sexual promiscuity is frequent, but patients usually report decreased libido and have inability to have orgasm.
It does say that.
We've given you a lot of medical records of Ms. Stauch.
Yes.
Are you aware, do you recall those medical records? She's had multiple treatment for sexually transmitted diseases.
I don't remember that specifically.
Also had both multiple miscarriages and terminated pregnancies.
That I do remember.
Could that be consistent, especially the terminated pregnancies? Could that be consistent with somebody with DID? For example, one persona wanting to get pregnant and have a child and another persona not.
I suppose that could happen. I also don't know that it would be specifically consistent with the diagnosis. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Okay. One of the things that the literature indicates to look for, or can be a sign of DID, is depersonalization.
Yes.
And that could be talking about oneself in the third person. Could that be a sign of depersonalization?
Not necessarily in and of itself.
But it could be. I'm not asking for it in itself.
Sure. Okay. Well, depersonalization is more of a subjective feeling of feeling detached from one's body. So I'd say just because somebody speaks about themselves in the third person doesn't necessarily mean they're having that experience of depersonalization.
And just, would you agree that using different names could be an indication of dissociative identity disorder?
I think that's one of the indicators that one would look for when it comes to the different personality states.
And it's verified from both Al Stauch and Harley Hunt that Ms. Stauch did use the name Taylor.
Yes.
Are you also, you reviewed the discovery in the case?
Yes.
Do you recall an FBI report regarding somebody who was in training to become a flight attendant at Spirit Airlines?
I remember Ms. Stauch wanting to become a flight attendant. I don't remember this detail where it was coming from or specifically what the FBI report said about it.
I may approach?
You may.
This is an FBI report during a conversation with Maria Boyer. Take a look at that. Go grab it. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
In that report indicates the FBI interviewed a woman who was in training at Spirit Airlines,
Yes.
that she had had communication over text and Facebook with Ms. Stauch,
Yes.
but that she knew her as Aubrey.
Yes.
I may approach? You may.
Do you want this back too?
That, while not positive, could be consistent with somebody who suffers from DID.
The only question I would have about it are the details that Ms. Stauch provided to that woman that are consistent with things that Ms. Stauch told us that are in line with her history as she is related.
Part of the thing, when the report by Dr. Lewis was provided to the district attorney, there was some underlying data that was, or underlying things that she based that on that was provided as well. Was that shared with you?
The underlying data that Dr. Lewis
Yeah.
relied upon?
Not data, but as far as collateral information.
I can't remember specifically what it noted.
Okay, specifically, there was a packet of signatures by Ms. Stauch that predated the offense? Do you recall reviewing those?
I did not review them.
Would somebody having different signatures as far as how that signature is presented, that predates the offense, could that be evidence of DID?
Possibly.
Ask, what is the difference between structural disassociation and alterations in consciousness?
Structural disassociation and alterations in consciousness?
Yes.
I feel like I would need to understand a bit more about what you were asking me to define.
Well, in the dissociation and dissociation past, present, and future.
Remember, this is on high speed, so she took a second to answer that one. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you have these medical, trained professionals and stuff. They not really specialize in everything. Of course, they went to school, they did their study, they did their research, and they just probably know the bare basic. But if they didn't have a couple of clients that was in this type of way, or dealing with clients that was a sociopath, they might not be too aware. They just know the very basic, but they don't know too much about how they act, how they interact with people, what they like as family, in and out of jail, what was they like in school, stuff like that. Just the same way when you go to your primary doctor, right, and you say you have a problem. So you have a medical issue, they'll try to help you. But when it seems like it's getting complicated, they'll send you to a specialist, and that specialist specializes in that condition. So you have respiratory, they send you to somebody who's a specialist who's dealing with the respiratory system. So I feel that, some of these therapists, not saying they don't know nothing, but they just don't specialize in that. They might not have too much, like these doctors might not know too much about DID, dissociate, whatever it is. I can't even pronounce it, whatever. They might not be too specialized. They familiarized about it. They know a little, but they don't know the extent of it. So I'm not saying like anything with her, like to give her some sort of leeway. No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying in general for us to learn is when you go into a therapist, you go into a doctor, you want to make sure they know what they're doing and they specialize in your situation. Especially you're going to see some mental help. You need somebody, well, I'm going through this. Do you deal with, I've been, such and such as a child and I'm having flashbacks. Do they specialize in that? Or I just been attacked by someone or whatever it is. Can they help you in that situation? So you just need to just ask questions and find out. I mean, how many victims that they have that's dealing with the same thing that you're going through? And can they help you with it? Now, when you going into these systems, like in the jail system, they just have these doctors that's paid to work there, and everybody just going through. So they just, hearing all kind of stuff or whatever, and they just write something down. This is all my thoughts and opinions. So the point I'm trying to say is, when you're going to see somebody medically, is dealing with your mental or dealing with your health. Just make sure they know if they specialize in that. They have much experience in it. Not saying they're not aware, but they might not have that much experience in that situation. Reason.
Future. It talks about in a clinical setting how it can be difficult for a clinician to distinguish between structural disassociation and alterations in consciousness. And at least my reading of it seemed to be structural disassociation would be kind of more what we were talking about originally as far as adaptive dissociation, where a person may go to a different place or be different, maybe not paying attention to what the person is saying. And then alterations in consciousness being more consistent with DID as far as the changing in personas.
Okay. I would have flipped those and
The same thing like with your animals. You take them to a vet. If you have a cat, do they specialize in cats and dogs? Or if you have, animals, you have cows or whatever, horses and stuff, do they specialize in that? Your horse is about to give birth. Are you going to go and ask somebody who's a vet that deal with cats? They tell them how to help the birth. A horse is about to have babies. They totally clueless. They don't know what to do. You understand? I hope I'm making sense here. Let me know in the chat. Resume.
at the same time, to speak to the issue that I think that you are raising, there, in terms of it being subtle and not being able to readily observe it, a person can switch from one personality to another, but not necessarily show any behavior demonstrating that. It is something that happens internally, which is why a lot of the research and even the DSM says that typically dissociative identity disorder presents as multiple states kind of being present at the same time, and why it's subtle and one wouldn't necessarily notice it.
And I think sometimes even talks about it's not necessarily, and again, the civil, where I'm a young kid and I'm an astronaut, but the personas will kind of shift as to which persona may be better functioning in a certain type of situation.
Yeah, that I'm not so sure. I understand it more as something that happens involuntarily that can't be controlled, as opposed to adapting to the environment.
But could it involuntarily shift subconsciously to a persona who would be better able to handle a situation?
The shifts can happen in response to some sort of trigger, and they can also happen randomly, to my understanding.
And when we're talking about triggers, one of the things that can be perplexing or difficult or cause the confusion in somebody with DID is they could be triggered by something that relates to a memory that is shelved in another persona, and so they don't even understanding why something is triggering them. Why the host may not understand why something triggers them.
Well, there would be that amnesia, so the host wouldn't have the realization necessarily that it is happening. And that's where the confusion and the distress that comes from having dissociative identity disorder can come into play.
Because a lot of times trauma and the trigger is that's stored in the body.
But yeah, there's literature that says that.
Yeah, and so the body can be reacting to trauma, but the host personality fails to connect why this is triggering or why this is causing this kind of trauma response. And that can be one of the things that can be very confusing to somebody who suffers from DID.
The whole thing can be confusing, sure. Especially because there's some component of amnesia associated with it. And then at the same time, the literature talks about how there's some awareness, sometimes even among the personalities, that it's a bit more porous, even though you would expect to see amnesia.
Well, and sometimes literature reflects clusters of personality may share certain memories.
Yes.
And when you were talking about whether or not somebody else, a family member or something, would have noticed these types of things, are you aware that Ms. Stauch left the home when her brother Dakota was only 2?
If she told us that, I don't remember that specifically.
Okay. But if they weren't necessarily raised in the same household or had a lot of contact with each other, that may be a possible reason why he didn't notice any of these issues.
I think that's possible. I don't remember off the top of my head how much interaction they've had.
Absolutely. From
her ages of adolescence forward.
But whether or not somebody would pick up on these subtle cues of somebody who legitimately suffers from DID would largely be based upon the amount of time that they interact with somebody.
That can certainly be helpful, consistency and amount of time interacting together.
And when Ms. Stauch was speaking, with you about her relationship with Al Stauch, the history that she presented is they actually, even though they'd been married for, I think, 4 or 5 years at the point in time of the event, they actually hadn't really lived together for very long.
That's correct.
And so the sustained long interactions between the two of them may not have been as substantial as you would normally expect in a married couple who had been living together for 5 years straight.
That was my impression.
And, Mr. Stauch, in the interviews that he did talk some about her varying moods. As far as like 1 week she would be a great mother and the next week she may act like she doesn't pay attention to the kids at all.
Yes.
And again, he talked about her sporadic work, and that was a thing of frustration for him.
Yes.
In regards to Harley, we provided you with a memorandum regarding our interview with her in South Carolina.
Yes.
Do you recall that memorandum reflecting Harley being somewhat confused by Ms. Stauch changing her name to Taylor?
I remember, and I don't know if it's written in that report specifically, I remember her noting that she...
I see you, realist, creeping through the back door, and blessings to you, brother. Blessings to you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. Reason. We're going to be wrapping it up, ladies and gentlemen, soon. Just want to get some of what the defense have to say, but we're going to wrap it up soon. Reason.
Added Taylor as her middle name and used it with individuals outside the family.
On your approach.
Yes.
Okay. So I can review that, see if that refreshes your record.
Thank you.
It's on the second page, I think the last paragraph off the top of my head.
Ms. Stauch, almost on a weekly basis, would she be in a good position?
I'm fast forwarding too because I love to hear what the jury's questions. So we're gonna skip to that part. I mean, we're gonna fast forward to that. So I think I got it now. I think this is the part with the jury. Let me see.
Position based on her weekly conversations with Ms. Stauch to make a decision.
came in, and she did it fine with us. I don't think the issue of the clock drawing comes up again. And
On the first competency test, we were told she performed the same test poorly.
Okay, I found it here. Let's see what the jury's questions, and then after that, I'll let y'all go, ladies and gentlemen.
Good to go. Dr. Torres, would a person with multiple personalities refer to themselves as I when describing the actions that a different personality carried out?
I don't think so.
And let me know if you need the exhibit for this. And I'm sorry, it's late Friday, and I'm not even sure if you were the witness that had this exhibit, but that's where we're going to start. We were shown how the defendant performed the clock test well on the first competency test. We were told she performed the same test poorly on the second competency test. And I think you were asked the question about, were you aware of the test that was done by Dr. Lewis? Is that right?
Yes, we gave the clock drawing. Oh, is there more?
Yes, there is. I just wanted to make sure that we were thinking about the same thing.
Yes.
Why would the same test be used twice when the first one could train the defendant how to perform or not perform on the second?
Okay. I'm just going to say a little bit to clarify this situation, but during our initial competency evaluation, we gave a brief cognitive screener to see if there were any cognitive problems on it, which is where that clock drawing came in. And she did it fine with us. I don't think the issue of the clock drawing comes up again until Dr. Lewis's evaluations, meaning I don't recall that Dr. Grimmett gave that specific test or knowing any results associated with the clock drawing test there. And in Dr. Lewis's administration of that specific test, the clock came out very different and looks impaired. In terms of why would the same test be given, at this point in time, we would have given that test sometime in 2020. So ostensibly, Dr. Lewis would have given it at some time in 2022. And I think I noted that we gave a cognitive screener, but that test specifically is supposed to be sensitive to issues of brain impairment or some sort of brain dysfunction. If something had happened in between 2020 and 22, like a substantial head injury, it could impact the results on that particular test. But to answer the question more specifically, why would we give the same sort of test at two different times? Depending on the test, sometimes the person might respond differently. So for example, we talked about the MMPIs being administered multiple times, 3 times in this case across the years. That test is more sensitive to what is going on with the person right now. So you could give it last year and you could give it this year and get different results depending upon what's happening with the person if they're receiving treatment. With cognitive tests, those tend to be more stable across time in terms of any issues associated with deficits. But like I said, if something is happening or if something has happened, it can change the results on the test from one administration to the next. And we even see it with issues of severe psychosis. Somebody who's acutely mentally ill with severe psychosis might perform cognitively worse, get treatment, and then perform cognitively better. So there is benefit to giving it at different times.
Right. And then I'm going to rephrase this question a little bit. But let's assume that you believe everything that the defendant has told you and everything that she said in her story. So you're not looking at, I guess, correlating information or anything like that. The question is, if you believe everything the defendant said in her story, would you diagnose the defendant with dissociative identity disorder?
Just basing it off of her self-report?
That seems to be the question, yes.
I think I still would not.
That's a darn good question the jury asks. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, let's get back to it.
Because the way that she describes creating the personalities, being able to have some sort of control switching between worlds, to me, that is inconsistent with the nature of a dissociative identity disorder being something that is involuntary, overwhelming, and uncontrollable.
I will allow reason.
I don't think she... Did she answer that question properly? If I was correct, the question was, if you believed everything she said, would you think she have it? I don't know. What y'all think? I don't think she quite answered that question. But let's get back to it. So that means the jury think it's a possibility she might have it. I think. What do you think? All right, let's get back to it.
We'll follow up to those questions only. Prosecution.
Just briefly, Your Honor. You don't know why Dr. Lewis administered that cognitive thinking test.
I don't know why.
Consult with her prior to her doing that?
No.
Did you ever consult with her?
We never spoke with her specifically. We just read her report and saw some of the testing and watched the videos.
Defense.
Whether or not somebody with dissociative identity disorder could refer to themselves as I when relaying information that another personality did. Wouldn't that be somewhat conditioned on that individual and how that disease is presenting themselves in that person?
I suppose it's possible, but whenever I hear somebody say I assume they are talking about themselves.
And then lastly, the question, if you took at face value everything that you said, I understand some of the stuff would be inconsistent with DID and not having control, but at least in relationship to how she described Maria, the Maria personality, that would be more consistent with somebody who had DID, in that she said she did not have control of Maria or access to Maria's memories.
I would be looking at the whole presentation as opposed to just a part of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Torres. You can step down.
Thank you. Am I excused?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
Thank you.
I suppose I should ask. You're under subpoena by the attorneys. Prosecution.
We want to play some more videos.
Right.
Kidding.
All right. Defense. Okay. Yep. You are. Thank you, ma'am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our weekend break. Again, I'm going to go through the long instruction that you're probably tired of, but I want to keep reminding you of it because it's important. You have probably already guessed that there has been some media or public interest in this case. You must guard against exposure to the media or interaction with others because you will be required to decide this case based on the evidence presented and the instructions that I give you. Again, you can tell your friends and family that you are on this jury and how long you think it will go. You can ask for their help in avoiding exposure to stories or even opinions from others regarding this case, but you cannot otherwise discuss anything about this case with anyone, and you should not listen to any opinions regarding this case from anyone else.
You really think the jury be listening to what the judge says? You think they're not going to go home to their spouse and have pillow talk and talk about it with their family at the dinner table, their besties, their siblings? That's a bunch of crap. But they just have to just say that. But Melly, can you come up here for a second or two? If possible, no pressure. I understand if you can't. It was last minute. But if you can kind of clear up those questions with the jury, where they was going from, where they was heading to, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. But if you can't, I understand. But, yeah. So anybody have any questions, any thoughts and opinions, share it in the comments section. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Okay. But that question, though, that kind of had me going because it was like, how can I say? All right, let me, stop. So, yeah, Melly popped up. I love this girl. Okay. Let me switch it. Let me switch it.
Oh yeah.
Let me switch it. Setting. Yeah, just that jury. The questions. Okay. Now speak. Yes, go ahead. And thank you for coming up, Melanie. Thank you.
I just want to take a second and
Okay.
say I feel like we have earned the right to mock the heck out of that woman after what she put Gannon through. And can we please talk about her STDs and abortions? See, she didn't want any more kids. You've been right all along. She didn't want those kids.
It was something about I just felt, Melanie, she doesn't want kids, and that daughter was an accident. Just something that just happened. You know what? I'll just deal with it. She was young, whatever. Oh gosh.
She might have wanted them then, when she had Harley, but kids are a lot of work. So anyways, okay. Question. What is your question?
The jury. Can you just help me with the jury's questions? What did you think? I mean, I know it's all your thoughts and opinions, so no pressure on Melanie. She just sharing her thoughts. What was your feel from the jury's questions? Where they was heading to? They might have had doubts or just regular questions. I don't know. Just whatever you think about the jury's questions.
I think they're educated. I think they ask very intelligent questions, and we don't know if it's the same juror asking these questions or if it's a variety. But they specifically said would she, of her 8 personalities, I mean, they're keeping track of how many different personalities she says she has.
They listen and they are in tuned. Okay. Mhm.
You know, I don't think they're buying it. There's just too much as
Mhm.
it's, I mean, is she mentally ill? Yeah. But she knew the difference between right and wrong.
That's true.
She's I don't know. Anyways, that's what I think with the jury. I think the questions they ask consistently are really, really good, and they run afoul of what defense had just tried to tell them, right? You know, the defense had just been making a big deal about what caused it, and then the jury comes back and said, or about her not knowing when her alters were in charge or what they were doing, but then she does know what they're doing. And so I think they're asking questions that just run afoul of the defense.
Oh, okay.
So I hope that some of the stuff that I hope everybody remembers is when, Harley wouldn't talk to them, but she gave them a memorandum. That's not sworn testimony.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not sworn testimony, and that's not being allowed to, that's not answering the questions they have. It's a memorandum. She could lie all the way through it, and there's no criminality to that. They talk about talking to Aunt Brenda, and Aunt Brenda does not, when they say Aunt Brenda confirmed, she confirmed domestic violence. She doesn't confirm the SA. And they just sort of breezed past it. So I'm hoping that Aunt Brenda comes up on the stand. Because I want to, and they're accusing a dead man of something, and he can't even defend himself because he's dead.
So sad.
So I have my doubts on the SA. But you know, I wasn't there.
That's we all share our thoughts and opinions. Like I said, we wasn't there.
Yeah, I just don't like Letecia.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I don't have any respect for Al. Not saying he wanted this to happen to his child, no. But there was something about him, and I think he might have a little slight narcissistic traits, like I said. And when they being selfish, think about them, and this is the consequence. I think Gannon was surrounded by so many people, narcissists, toxic people, and they thought about themselves. They put themselves first, and these poor children end up being the ones suffering. And unfortunately, he's dead now.
Right.
Like I
Things went
said,
really, really bad.
yeah. And I do feel that, like I said a million times, Harley has something to do. I think Harley didn't want to be bothered because I couldn't understand. What was a little bit weird when they went on their vacation, and it was like, Harley's at age that she can watch her, her step siblings. It's just for the weekend. And I was like, well, why they had a babysit? And I couldn't understand. And then as time went by and more watch, I said, wait a minute. She probably didn't even really feel her step siblings. She didn't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered, Ma. I understand. I don't even want to be bothered either. Look, I'll just get a babysitter. You just do you. And
There was a
situation. Could be.
I hear there's a TikTok of Harley from the plane when she went from Myrtle Beach to Colorado Springs that August to have her proffer. And in her TikTok, all she said, she had a picture of Gannon and said, anything for you. But I haven't seen it, so.
But she was on the stand saying, Mommy, my words, Mommy, if you knew you was going to do this, you could have set me up with something.
Right.
What kind of statement is that? And she was crying about that.
Right.
This boy's dead. He's gone. What about him?
Woe is you, honey. Yeah, woe is you, but, 3 years later, you're 3 years older. What about?
You ever go see your boo in with Guyana or Grenada? your long distance lover.
Oh,
Who was
Lord.
he seeing? He didn't even get a chance to have his first girlfriend.
I would
Mhm.
dearly love to be the one that could put a picture in front of Letecia of Harley and her new boyfriend, because you catch it in everything Letecia said through all those calls about race and color. You know she's a racist. I
Yeah.
would love for her to have to see a picture of her daughter with a young man of color. I would enjoy every second of it.
She probably
Are
go
they
buck wild. That's something to think about.
And you know me, Donna. I am in every trial. I am. Now, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. They haven't proven anything yet. Innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do it. I just so can't do it on this one.
Yeah, it's just not possible because this is a child,
Uh,
and I think that she would. Ooh, who just creeped through the back door? Chris, you done creeped through the back door. You was up in here chilling in the bushes. All she has done is lie and gaslight. Al and Harley.
yeah.
Mm. Let me read this one real quick. What Black Lady Jane said: If the devil's daughter has DP, pigs are now flying. Sylvia says, how can you trust a woman that abused her own daughter? Great question. And her unborn babies killed. Shame on you, Al. Mm.
Now, remember, they didn't live together until Colorado Springs.
So how?
He was mostly deployed and she'd go visit.
See, I need some more of those sometimes now. Okay, so when they first got married, it was the visits, and it wasn't until the end they really was like together.
Right.
And come to find out they was arguing and fighting all the time. See, because y'all ain't dating long enough, so you realize you can't live with each other.
Yeah.
And all right, I would love to see her face. Priceless. And blessings to you. Good to see you. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up. I said 1 hour, but I lied. It went longer than that because this was getting pretty good, and I truly didn't see the ending of Thursdays. So Monday they going to court Monday, right? Monday. So
Monday, the state should rest. They're finishing up with,
okay.
they need to call Dr. Gray on Monday. So I hope they rest tomorrow. But they'll have Dr. Gray tomorrow, and then they rest, and then the defense will motion for a directed verdict, which the judge should just laugh at him. And then the state starts their case and calls their first witness. But they said they have a couple experts. They have 13 on their witness list of potential witnesses, but they keep referring to a couple experts. So
this is the state, you're saying the state,
the defense.
the defense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saying there's going to be more with the defense this week?
Yes, the defense starts their case. The state's going to rest, and now it's time for the defense to put on their case. But they have no case.
Oh.
I mean, they've got that Dr. Lewis. That's going to be a disaster. That's just a.
She is a military version of a lot lizard. I'm done. I can't.
I love it.
Y'all kill me with these comments. I'm loving it. All right. So defense is gonna have theirs next week. So probably the next one. So about almost 2 more weeks of this trial. That's what you're saying? Probably.
I think it could be done by weekend. I'm hoping. I don't think the jury will be out more than 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Because we go by those questions. The
I
questions
don't
they
know.
have. Yeah.
No offense to anybody that's older, but I don't know how long Dr. Lewis can sit on the stand. She's in her mid-80s. I mean, and I don't mean that offensively, but
no, I'm just saying it might be too much.
I'm going to learn my lesson from Don Lemon and not say the other, but
oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So it's and she believes in. I'm not going to talk about it because I can't quote exactly, so I will wait.
Can she get the death penalty? Chris asking. That's a good question.
She could have. She could have.
Oh, okay.
Colorado abolished the death penalty in June of 2020, but the crime was committed in March, so she qualified for the death penalty, and the
Oh,
state chose not to prosecute with death penalty. It was a smart move on their part. It was a smart move on their part. It's hard to get 12 people to unanimously go with it. And
okay.
society's kind of changing. And so
Hmm.
no death penalty, but it is because it's murder one, it's life without parole. So it's forever.
Okay, forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
and insanity just gets her to the mental institution forever. Because she doesn't qualify for any kind of release under a class 1 felony.
Oh, gotcha.
So one murder will be LWOP. There's 2 murders on there. There's 6. There's tampering with evidence and tampering with a body. One of those is like 8 years. The other one is like 16, 18 months. And then there's all those enhancers at the bottom. So in each category, one would give her less than double her sentence,
Mm-hmm.
but more than 50% of her sentence on top of. So she's looking at like 3 life sentences.
Okay. The last question. If the stepdaughter, she might be coming on or no?
Oh, she's a witness, the little baby sister.
Yes.
She's on
Gannon.
the witness list.
So there's a possibility that she might end up coming on, correct?
Yeah, and there were some motions that the state put into evidence, and I can't open them. I don't know what they are, but it's about moving into evidence the statements, the therapy notes between the child psychologist, the specialist that spoke. And the only child still around is Lainey, so I'm assuming it was her.
Okay.
But so in some courts, what they do is when you're on a witness list, now you can't sit and watch the trial. You can't participate.
Oh.
Okay. Like in Murdaugh, it was weird that everybody could be sitting there watching the whole trial and then go testify. That doesn't happen very often. So here, you can't sit there. So sometimes they put people on witness lists to keep them out of the courtroom.
Okay.
But I think that I think the state's going to use the family members in rebuttal. So once the defense rests, the state has a rebuttal. So I think you'll see some family members there.
Oh, okay. That poor girl. Oh my gosh. She lost her brother. Oh
Right.
boy. In such a horrific way.
Right.
Let's pray for her too. Just like we pray for Gannon. Let's pray for her because she lost her brother. And also, I know she went through hell with Letecia.
Right.
She was being mistreated too. Probably Gannon more. Like I said, I think that Gannon was the target due to the fact that that was the son that was carrying his name.
Right.
So it was like, I'm going to get you there. But she didn't like that daughter either. I don't think she liked the daughter either. Let me read this last comment. Wow, what kind of person would put their children through something like this? Oh, yeah, the kind that would brutally kill an 11-year-old. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Melanie, for coming up here again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this up. Had y'all here forever. And thank you for being here, hitting the like, for engaging and stuff. And we'll just see what happens on the trial this week. We're gonna have a moment of silence for Gannon. Again, we're gonna have a moment of silence I should have got the picture. Well, moment of silence for Gannon and also prayers for the West Boys. Orrin and Orson West, what happened to them. Okay, so let's keep them in the mind. I wish I had the picture. I should pull it up and make sure I do it next time, because I would have definitely covered that trial, but due to the fact that the way they doing it and stuff, they're keeping it so private. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, date smart, not thirsty, and wait, hold a second. Oh, okay. Sorry there. Just read something. All right, so a moment of silence. Let me put Gannon's picture up here. This boo boo boo. All right. And also keep Orrin and Orson West in your mind too. Okay. And Melanie, don't disappear. Stay right there. Oh, she disappeared. Oh, darn it. Okay. Everybody, they have this blessed night and a safe one. Date smart, not thirsty, and have a moment of silence for Gannon and also Orrin and Orson West.